Good evening. We're going to call the LaPorte County Council regular meeting for February 28th to order. We're going to stand for the pledge, and then we're going to do a moment of silence for Councilwoman Grammarosa's mother, who passed away recently, as well as Economic Development Director Tony Rodriguez's father. So please stand. Mr. Yagowski.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Auditor.
Councilman Rosenbaum.
Present.
Councilman Yagelski.
Present.
Councilwoman Grammarosa. Councilman Mullenhour.
Present.
Councilman Garner. Councilman Garner.
He's trying to log in.
Councilman Cunningham.
Present.
And we have one absence, Commissioner Grammarosa. We believe Councilman
Did you hear Terry's trying to log in?
Garner is present. Accounted for.
So I think we have 6 members.
Yes.
Approval of the February 28th agenda.
Mr. Chairman, we have 2 changes that I'm aware of. The first one is under new business, number 5. We'd like to add Park and Recreation, looking for support to purchase 2 mowers, not to exceed $21,000. And the second change, I turn to Mr. Cunningham, Councilman Cunningham.
Mr. President, I'd like to move that we move the Meadowview Estates under appropriations from number 13 up to number 1.
Is there any other recommendations or changes? So is that a motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, seconded by Mr. Cunningham? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Approval of the minutes from November 22nd, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Mullenhour. Is there any other questions or comments? We'll have the January 24th minutes at our next meeting. They were rather lengthy. I think that was a 4-hour meeting, so they're extensive. So, yes?
Mr. Garner is on, just for your information.
All right.
You want to have him say aye?
What's that?
You want to have Mr. Garner say aye that he's present?
Are you here, Terry?
I'm here, yep.
All right. All those in favor of the minutes, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you. Public comment. Public comment is now open.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Steve Hollifield, 6782 East, 100 South Mill Creek. Under the LaPorte County Auditor, I have a couple questions. The $10,125 for snow removal, is that an outside contractor we hired, even though we have a building maintenance department with snowplow trucks and plows in front of them and a full staff? Is that Mr.?
Yeah, let me clarify right away that in the sixth iteration of the agenda, somehow the title got changed to LaPorte County Auditor. That's supposed to be LaPorte County Treasurer, the overseer,
Okay.
the overseer of the Brown Mackey.
But that is outside contractors, when we have a full-time staff with equipment and everything else, they could have done that.
That's going to be discussed. You can rest assured, Mr.
Thank
Open.
you, sir.
It will be
And
discussed.
also, the $6,500 for the front entry. Are we paying for maintenance and repairs on a building that we do not own? I rented a couple apartments when I was younger. I didn't have to maintain them. So is this, I mean, we're doing that.
We're going to be asking
Okay,
questions.
well, I'm glad. And if you'd indulge me for one quick minute, Mr. Novak, about
I
our
might add one
conversation.
more thing. I believe that it might have been in our contract with them that we have to restore the building.
Okay, okay.
So
You
if
gotta put
that's
it
the
back the way it
case,
was.
Okay.
you would understand it better that way.
If you'd indulge me for one quick second about our conversation, when I talked about the sheriff's pension fund, I knew that the riverboat, we couldn't take that back. But there are obligations out of the general fund for the sheriff and EMS, correct?
For pay, regular pay right now,
Okay.
yeah.
And if the lit comes in, which it's going to, then we would be less obligation out of the general fund, correct?
Technically.
Instead of spending that extra money on something else, couldn't you have the obligation of the taxpayer to put less money into the general fund and then let us keep some of the money we do earn? I mean, just a thought. So,
Appreciate that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Could I respond to that, Mr. President?
Sure can. Well, this isn't really a question and answer,
Okay.
but I understand. You wanna?
I would prefer, rather than make him sit here for 3 hours. One thing I would say, Mr. Holyfield, is that we get the impression that this is a tax increase because that's the way it was proposed originally. We're going to hike the PS lit tax by 0.5%. But in reality, since 2010, we've had a tax decrease of income coming into the county. The tax caps, I think last year cost us about $30 million in the county. So in reality, what you just said is give us the money back. The state, in their wisdom, has already given the taxpayers of LaPorte County $20 to $30 million a year for the last 12 years. And that's why the county is in some of the straits we're in. If we had another $30 million coming in for all the units in the county, we wouldn't be asking for $12 million at this point in time. And it's probably going to get worse as property values go up. The effect of the caps will hurt the county even worse. So in discussions with people, I've had actually some people explain to me, and I think they're right. Don't look at it as a tax increase, look at it as a reduction in the tax reduction that you've already received. Okay.
All right. Okay. You can't speak from down there.
Okay.
Just so, and this isn't
I don't
a
want to
debate.
debate. I don't want to debate the issue, but what I want you to think of is the county. The caps have had an adverse effect on LaPorte County. We know that. I mean, the auditor can tell you that. It's going to get worse each year. I mean, the progression, if you had a graph, it would look like it's going to get worse each year. So,
Great.
you and I can talk about that later.
Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak? Hello.
Hello. My name is Jeanette James Raymond. I live at 0632 West Nowak Drive in LaPorte. And I'd like to thank you, the members of LaPorte County Council, for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening regarding Meadowview Estates subterranean flooding for over the past 14 years. Although I do not speak for all who have experienced the subterranean flooding, I appreciate the opportunity to share our story. What began as a flooding issue that affected only a handful of homes in the fall of 2008 has to date increased to well over 40 homes within the subdivision itself, not including homes on 75 West. Many homeowners have experienced complete losses of their basements, which includes hundreds of thousands of dollars not only in repair, replacement of flooring, drywall, furnishings, but also losing personal items that can never be replaced, such as photographs, documents, and memories from their past. We have homes running up to 5 sump pumps at a time, still not being able to keep up with the water permeating in from under their basement floors and losing everything. Countless homes have had to spend up to $15,000 plus to have their basement floors jackhammered up, opened up to create trenches in order to install mitigation systems which continuously pump water out at rates of as fast as even 8 seconds. During the month of June 2019, for example, the pumping was calculated to be approximately 1,377,600 gallons within a 24-hour time span. But not only have our homes, our pocketbooks, and our lives been affected by this, so have our streets, which we are now seeing them to start crumble and even sink in some spots. Some may ask, how is this flooding different from other subdivision flooding? When homes experience flooding due to surface water, there are options such as diverting the water, using sandbags, bringing in extra fill, or even re-engineering the drain systems. The flooding in our homes is subterranean, rising up from under the surface, causing hydrostatic pressure in and around our basements, and that cannot be predicted, monitored, or stopped. This is why we need a solution. I do have an email that was sent to me by one of the residents who is one of the greatest pumpers in our subdivision on Nowak Drive 577 West Nowak Drive, Christy Applegate. And she wrote, one of the sump pumps in the basement has a PVC pipe coming out of it and into a PVC pipe outside. The excess water runs through the pipe and into the drain in the road. Without this pipe, the constant excess water from the sump pump is pumped outside of the house and into the soil, then seeps back into the basement. We have 2 sump pumps, and if at any given time they malfunction, then we have water in our basement. The basement is unfinished and cannot be finished due to all the water coming in. Our house value is much lower due to not being able to use the basement or even use it for storage purposes. Before we knew we had water issues, we started to put walls and insulation up. The basement flooded several times and I had to remove all the insulation due to a high moisture causing the insulation to have mold, and we had to cut the wood at the bottom due to being wet and having mold as well. We must continuously monitor humidity levels to prevent the mold. As a result, nothing of value can be stored downstairs. We must run a large dehumidifier at the cost of $1,800 consistently, increasing our electric bill along with running the pumps. We have high levels of radon gas that come through the groundwater, and we had to install a radon system to attempt to keep the levels as low as possible.
Hi, I'm Rose Hyatt, 678 West Nowak Drive, LaPorte. First of all, thank you to all who have advocated for a solution to our water issues. It's been a long, exhausting process. Not only has the water issue affected many of us financially, but the emotional impact has been great as well. From replacing several sump pumps each year, to additional NIPSCO costs of pipes or tubing to run the water away from the house, NOVA systems, septic systems, the costs have been heavy. But it also takes a toll emotionally. Many of us have shed tears coming home to a basement with water, sopping up the floor with towels and wetbacks, running fans to try to dry out the basement. Some have had to rip up drywall, carpeting, and see their hard-earned money and hard work of fixing up their homes ruined. Some have had to take out loans and pay for years for those unanticipated costs. We can't plan a spring break trip because we have to babysit our sump pumps or risk coming home to a disaster. Even planning a summer trip can be risky. We've also have to watch the weather in anticipation of storms that might knock out the power. The sound of the sump pumps kicking on several times a minute, 24 hours a day, for months is annoying, exhausting, and anxiety-provoking. But what is worse is when you realize you haven't heard the sump pump running or it's making a weird noise, and you have to run down to check it. Some people in the subdivision are handy enough to switch out those sump pumps themselves. But people like me, I have to call a relative or a friend and hope that they can drop everything they're doing right then and there to come rescue me. The water doesn't come on at a convenient schedule and disrupts everybody's plan in life. I take pride in my home. I like to sweep the gutters after mowing, but I detest seeing the water constantly in the gutter in front of the house, especially when it's growing algae. When you buy a home, you buy it as a long-term investment. Some may hope to sell and downsize to fund their retirement, but not selling may be very possible, or else they'll now receive less value for their home. We come tonight hoping that you'll listen, think about how you would feel if you lived in our subdivision, and vote to support a solution. Thank you.
Jason Schoaf, 655 West Nowak Drive. I just want to touch on a couple of quick points, going back to some of what Rose was talking about. Septic systems. There are approximately 11 houses that I am aware of in the subdivision who have had to replace their septic systems in the last several years. The first meeting we had with the commissioners, there was actually a representative from a septic company there who had inspected several of those, and was able to testify that it was caused by hydraulic overpressurization. Second thing, the NIPSCO bills. There is a house at 2702 South 350 West, was built in 1992, is identical floor plan to my house. It is within 50 square feet. Their average summertime electric bill is $180. Mine is $350. I run 4 and 5 pumps around the clock. You can't sell your house when somebody calls NIPSCO and says, what's the average bill? So our home values have gone down because of that. And to me, if we can get this fixed, all that is eventually going to be more money back in the county's pockets because our home values are going to go up. You're going to collect more taxes off us on property value. I hope that we can get your support. I know you guys are getting sick of this. It's been a 3-year battle. Since we've been back here talking to you guys about this. We're ready to see something done.
Right. Thank you.
One more. Evening, council members. My name is Kevin Raymond, 0632 West Nowak Drive, Middleview Estates. I'd like to touch on a few things about cost of this project. I don't have to tell you that the COVID pandemic and inflation and current world events have caused prices to skyrocket. Costs for construction materials especially have in some instances tripled. Oil is now $100 a barrel or more, which means all petroleum-based products will be more expensive. That means for this project, all asphalt items, the tack coat that is sprayed between asphalt layers, PVC pipe, joint sealing compound for the pipe and the manholes, and the fuel for the equipment could continue rise in the future and make prices higher. As you know, Woodruff & Sons has been awarded this project. They're a family-owned and operated company in Michigan City, LaPorte County, since the 1940s, and it's my personal and professional opinion that this is greatly in our favor. Quality constructed underground infrastructure is their expertise. A local company will be doing the work. Woodruff & Sons operates with honesty and integrity. And as I believe Mr. Sullivan might be providing an example to you, they had the chance to kind of gouge us, and instead they respectfully gave a extended price for added pipe. This project will create good paying jobs for LaPorte County residents who presumably will in turn spend their wages back into the LaPorte County economy. Another thing, because of this flooding problem, as Jason just touched on, the fact that we have to declare any past water problems, we cannot put our homes for sale. It's very difficult to sell our homes. Our property values have stagnated. This project will make our homes more marketable, which in turn will raise our property values, which in turn will provide more revenue for the county. So for reasons including higher property valuation, the fact that we have great local contractor building the project, and to avoid continually rising construction costs, it makes financial and economic sense to take care of this project now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Anybody else from the public?
Mr. President, council members, Joe Haney, LaPorte County Commissioner, District 3. Just wanted to take a brief minute. There's a lot of good things here on your agenda this evening, from some replacement positions, consideration for vet techs, the repaving out at Pioneer Land. I did want to take a moment and talk about the drainage issues and improvements that's before you here tonight. I think we heard some great reasons why this is really something that's needed for our community as a whole. As well as, I just wanted to take just a minute to thank Tony Hendricks and Jay Sullivan, our county engineer and surveyor, for the heavy lifting that they've done trying to really bring this forward and wrap this up. The extra hours they put into it, the volunteer work, kind of quasi-volunteer work from Jay to try and make this happen. I think those two individuals really deserve a hand, and we're lucky here in LaPorte County to have folks that are willing to come together and really pull for the community to make something happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Evening.
Anybody else from the public? Anybody else from the public? Anybody else from the public? Public comment is now closed. We'll move on to department heads. Any department heads? Any department heads that would like to speak?
Good evening. Ella Bilderbach, LaPorte County Recorder.
Good evening.
Hey, Mr. President, if I can
Excuse
hold
me.
you off, I'm on Zoom and you didn't ask for any of us.
Oh, well, hang on one second. Hang on one second.
On,
All right, public comment from anybody on Zoom. I apologize.
no, okay, thank you
might
so
wanna
much.
take a seat.
Hey, Jeff Santana, Michigan City, LaPorte County. As you guys started the meeting, that I'm sorry for the losses of the Grandma Rosa and Rodriguez's family. What can you say other than that? But I see you guys got a huge agenda. I'm going to, as a little funny, still a little phrase from Tony Rodriguez. And that is, I will try to be brief. Well, Tony, you know I love you. Anyway, first thing I want to say, I want to thank Dwayne Werner and the Highway Department. As at least over the last couple of years, man, when I've had to contact him for my neighbors or myself that continue to contact me, his crews have been right on the job and on the spot. And kudos go out also, I want to say, to the Highway Department, in my opinion, as far as how the roads were cleared up during these last few snowstorms that the county has had. I'm going to move on a little bit. Oh, hey, again, if I'm giving kudos, Randy, President Randy from the council, he was on 96.7 The Eagle today on the Sound Off Show. Good job. I thought you were candid, answered the questions that were asked of you. So I just, applaud you on that, bro.
Thank you, Jeff.
But I do want to ask Randy again if thoughts have been given to, as you and I spoke when I was on the council, an accountability system for all of our county employees. Another thing that we had in mind was to try to bring in a neutral consulting firm to evaluate our number of employees in every department, and for that firm to come back with a recommendation where there might be too much fat in one department and yet another that are lacking. My intentions here would be, you guys, after the conclusion came in, not to lay off or fire anyone. It would be a time for the council to decide to replace or not replace employees as the study dictates. One other thing, there are two items on the agenda this evening that I feel should be advertised, and I've told you guys this before as I was on the council, through the general fund, and those are on the last page of tonight's agenda, and that is where the $28,505 is being requested by the sheriff, I guess I quote, annual internet cost. If it's an annual internet cost, let's not take it from some of these other funds. That has to come out of general if it's going to be an ongoing expense. Another one was the economic development, but what I've now understood and heard, and maybe one of the council members will explain this to me, how that $220,000 is coming out for their annual budget, and that's where I kind of question whether or not that should be, but I think there is an explanation as far as that goes. I'm going to look at a couple other things, and I'm going to say I'm trying to hurry to the treasurer, where it does come down to the treasurer and all these extra expenses at Brown Mackey. I don't know why they weren't absorbed in the bonds. That just seems like a lot of things you guys need to look at. I am in favor, I will say, after all this time, of the Redevelopment Commission on that same page, 421 and 300 North. Yes, get that water under there. We are going to we're going to see good things. Another issue that I have though is looking at LaPorte County maintenance. God love you, and you've done some good things. But isn't the Pioneer land separate? And that would be something that we would pave. And you guys, we put a lot of money here. We've continued to put a lot of money. And when we start talking about wages and other things, let's look at our needs. And do we really have to keep going hard, strong on the fair when maybe some of that money could be used right now where it's necessary? I think I completed. I just. Oh well, and I'm gonna tell you.
Wrap it up, Jeff. Let's wrap it up.
What's that?
Let's wrap it up. I know.
Okay, the Meadowview and that division and this and that. God bless you. Let me tell you something. I'm in favor of going ahead, but I'm going to tell you something. Here's what's going to open up some cans of worms. And I live on Clay. I live off of Paz Road, and I've had to have Nova come to my home and actually install over a $2,000 project. So if we're going to give relief someplace, and I want you to give them relief, but you might get some more requests, is what I'm saying as far as that goes. Thank you for listening, and God bless you guys.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye.
It just about covers the agenda. So, appreciate that, Jeff.
Good, Tony.
Yeah, I did. Is there anybody else on Zoom? Is there anybody else on Zoom? Public comment. Anybody else on Zoom? Would you like to come back up? I apologize for that. You forget about Zoom over there. So. No time.
Shall I introduce myself again? Ella Bilderbeck, LaPorte County Recorder. Just a quick summary of what we did last year. I thought you guys might be interested in
Absolutely.
the numbers. So I pulled it up, and last year we recorded a total of 20,832 documents. Majority of that was e-recording, which was possible because we have fantastic software company that helps us do that. But also, I thought you might want to know that we actually earned $825,716.
Wow.
Out of that, general fund received 312 straight up. 20,000 went to security protection fund, another 20 went to elected official training fund, and then state mortgage recording fund received 14,000, and the surveyor's corner fund 103,300. And then the rest went to the perpetuation fund, which we use a nice chunk of that to pay salaries and all the office expenses, including what we pay the software company that allows us to do a lot of that work. So I think that's about covers it. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
For all the people in your department. Thank you. Any other department heads? Any other department heads? Let's hear it, Tony. Let's hear it. What do you got to say?
First of all, I just wanted to say thank you. It was extremely kind of the council to recognize the passing of my father, and I wanted to, on behalf of the family, say thank you very much.
Say who you are.
Tony Rodriguez, Director of your LaPorte County's Community and Economic Development Department. I've distributed to you a high-level summary of the 2021 annual activities, but quite frankly, the four major touchstones that this department focuses on and devotes energy to, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Viviana Plaza, our Community Development Specialist, Mr. Michael Seitz, BR&E Coordinator, and Matt Reardon, who we've referred to as our secret weapon in economic development, is absolutely critical to the success of our production. But in terms of the foundation of our overall economic development efforts, it starts with taking care of our existing industry. And that's quite frankly evidenced by ladder in your agenda, the lead-off batters, and the four companies that are intending and hope to expand in this community. Expand the tax base, add to the job base, increased wages, and continue a robust future for this community. So that's quite exciting, and is led and headed by Mr. Michael Seitz. All of our energy initiates out of that program. The new business, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention LaPorte County Works, of course, it really was being able to brand and get information about companies that are not currently visible to the attention of that LaPorte County's youth. So we're finding it to be extremely successful. Comments are extremely positive. Secondly, new business attraction, $25.5 billion of capital, prospective capital investment, and that was the requests for information. It represents the request for information that came through the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. A very exciting statistic, and it indicates how much work Viviana's doing, our entire team, and the energy and effort going into to continue to attract new capital investment into our county and continue to push tax rates down and diversify the economy. Number 3, connectivity and the LaPorte County Rural Broadband Task Force. Very exciting to have the level of private sector investment activity in fiber optic investment. We have Acme Communications, Surf Broadband, and Comcast that are currently spending significant capital of their own on their own individually, and at the same time aggressively competing for grant dollars at the state level to reach the hardest to reach and most expensive to serve currently unserved residents. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Maria Fruth and the $18,000 capital contribution they made for us to determine how much it would cost to serve every resident in LaPorte County in the townships that currently have no fiber today. And last but not least, housing development. If we're going to continue to expand our ability to maintain the employment levels that we have today, we need a housing stock that will take care of those employees that are currently seeking housing and without the long commutes. In 2021, what I'd love to do is to be able to just quickly recognize the management group that shepherded the 2021 housing analysis through to completion because of the amount of hours spent. And I wanted to thank the council. You've all invested significant time and energy into this housing initiative topic, and it is absolutely critical as one of the major foundations of what we're doing. But Mr. Clarence Hulse, Michigan City Economic Development Corporation, Nick Minnick, City of LaPorte, Skylar York, City of Michigan City, Iris Musagrosso with the LaPorte County Association of Realtors, Maria Fruth with the Healthcare Foundation of LaPorte, our very own Mike Orjeski, LaPorte County GIS Coordinator, Maggie Sparts. Now Maggie is really the chair of the initiative and a significant funding contributor to the effort. The county, both the county council and county commissioners individually, I want to thank each one of you truly from my heart. A lot of time invested there. Mr. David Heinold with the City of LaPorte, Mr. Bert Cook, the LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership, and again, our very own Mr. Mike Poland, Building Commissioner, each one playing a very valuable role. I could go on for hours. However, based upon some of the comments earlier, I will
keep it brief.
I will keep it brief. And thank you. It is truly a pleasure to be here. And again, thank you.
You guys are doing a great job.
Your recognition.
And anybody that wants to go on a site tour with Mike Sites, let him know, because I joined with him. We went out to Sims Mead. But if you're interested in maybe doing that, he's always looking for somebody to go with him. So
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other department heads? Any other department heads? Any other department heads? Department heads closed. Liaisons reports. Mr. Mollenauer.
Thank you. See, I've got I'll be brief. On January 31st, I attended the Community Correction Advisory Board meeting. On February 9th, I attended the Sheriff's Office Merit Board and Pension Board meeting, or both meetings. And on February 15th, I attended a Michigan City, it's the Fraternal Order of the Police. It was an information meeting regarding police and possible police and sheriff's office contracts. That also was attended by Commissioner Matthias and Councilman Cunningham, which you'll probably mention. On February 21st, I attended the South County Community Coalition meeting. And that's it, except for, and I believe the emergency management EMA has been taken off tonight's agenda regarding the tornado sirens.
They're restructuring that.
Right. I spoke with Rob Saby, and I know he'll be, I'll be contacting him during the month to see how that's going, also being I'm their liaison. So that's
Great.
all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Terry. Terry?
I just wanted to mention that I did speak to a recorder the last time I was there, and I mentioned to her how important it is that she keep us up to date on all the money that she does bring into the county's general fund, let alone, as Earl started years ago, using her funds to pay for salaries. I commend her and anybody previous that was in that office for doing such a great job they have. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Terry. Mr. Cunningham.
In light of the fact that we're still on page 1 of a 4-page agenda, I'll waive.
Mr. Yagowski.
Yeah, I'll waive mine, just to quick mention that all the stuff coming up for the data part of it has been approved. Other than that, nothing.
Great. Mr. Rosenbaum.
Unfortunately, I have too many things, but I am going to make it very quick. I'll be brief. The first thing is at the Redevelopment Commission, there's a couple things coming out of it. One of them that they're going to create a new TIF area around 20 and 35. I'll move on from there. The second thing is LADS, which I'm assigned to. They are needing different space than what they've located. They've asked, they need to have a privacy area so they can communicate with their people, and they don't have it in what was set up for them. And they have asked the commissioners for it, so I'm just sharing what their request was. Park and Rec, we're going to discuss a lot of things with them, but I did attend their last meeting, and the next meeting is tomorrow night. In talking with some of our people, I've learned on a personnel matter that it would be very nice if the Personnel Committee and the other powers that be, and it's not our group, is that regarding paid vacation and sick days, in order, when you start here, you have to wait a year before you get a day paid. I'd like to see that moved up to after some sort of probationary period, 60, 90 days, and let people start accruing them, and let's start getting more like the private sector, so we can actually get keep hiring good people. Number 5 on my list is the FMEC. We did not have a meeting last month due to bad weather. It shows on that night, but we did put together an annual report which has been shared with everybody on this council. And the last thing is the tax assessors. We're going to talk a little bit about it later. We're going to hopefully approve to hire 2 people.
Replace
2 people that have moved on to different other county positions, and that there's been agreement between the Michigan Township assessor and the county tax assessor, so that more of the work would come under the county tax assessor authority, because he's the one who's responsible for it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. One other, on my report, one other thing on RDC, Comcast, we signed an agreement, our Redevelopment Commission did, with Comcast to use the easement right-of-ways out of KIP. They're going to run free fiber out there to the park, so that's a huge plus out there. Our animal control's on the agenda tonight. The other thing is we put together a meeting with LaPorte Healthcare Foundation and some representatives from Michigan City Council regarding a respite house possibilities in LaPorte County. I do want to give a shout out to the, Mike stated he went to Mike's always at the pension board for the Sheriff's Department. But I just want to tell you, after sitting there listening to their financial advisor and one of their members, by God, I have the utmost confidence in the way they're scrutinizing the pension fund and doing things at the Sheriff's Department. So kudos to the great job that they're doing with the money and investing it. So that's all I have. Moving on to correspondence. Mr. Auditor.
Yes.
Why just hit that gavel?
We have received a number of correspondences. As you know, There was the public safety lit presentation at your last meeting, and the council requested to hear from any of the units of local government that would receive money from a local income tax. We did receive letters of support from the following entities. The form was similar, and the title of they approved resolutions. The way the resolutions all read in a uniform way is a resolution supporting the LaPorte County Council establishing a public safety local income tax. We received resolutions from the following units of local government: LaPorte City, Wanata, Kingsford Heights, and also here Kingsbury, and let's see who else, Trail Creek, Town of La Crosse, and Town of Westville. Did I leave out anyone? Some of these lists were put together last minute here. I think that's everyone. Now, that's as far as units of local government. We also received, the county, through my office, we're the, as you know, the secretary to the county council, received correspondence from also the sheriff's, LaPorte County Sheriff in support, and also the Michigan City Chamber of Commerce, and then finally LEAP, which is a LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership. I believe those are all the letters of support received for the LIT.
That was the LaPorte County Sheriff's Merit Commission.
Yeah.
So LaPorte County Sheriff's Merit Commission. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
We did receive, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We received, if that subject's over, we did receive some other correspondence. And what we received was unrelated to LIT, a letter from the Pioneer Cemetery Commission, which constituted their annual report to you.
Great. Thank you. It's my understanding that Michigan City is the only one that hasn't sent a resolution at this time, and I believe they have a meeting coming up, so.
That's my understanding as well.
Thank you. On page 2. Resolution, ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 2022-01A, Dwyer Instruments, public hearing. Would there be a motion to read by title only?
Motion to read by title only?
I think
Or do we
first,
need to-
I think before,
We're doing the public hearing
before
first.
the public hearing, you might want to hear a little bit of presentation since you missed the workshop, since the workshop was canceled.
Yes.
Just a few
So
minutes.
we're gonna do that
Then the
first,
public
then we'll do
hearing,
this.
and then.
Thank you, Guy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, Tony Rodriguez, Director of Community Economic Development. What you have before you, this item with Dwyer Instruments, is at the request of your petitioner company, a desire to pull back their statement of benefits that was attached to the application, giving them time to complete a revised proposal. It would be my recommendation that, given the hard work that's gone into creating the district and designating the ERA, that the council continue with the designation of the ERA, which is shown and distributed in the packet that I will hand out here in the next minute or two. But quite frankly, the designation would go forward. The statement of benefits could come at any date, but has to come back before this body for any consideration.
Sounds good.
That's correct.
So do we want to still have the public hearing at this time or at the time when we get the benefits?
You're going to do the public hearing now.
Okay. So public hearing for Dwyer Instruments, it's resolution 2022-01A is now open. Anybody from the public that would like to speak? Anybody from the public that would like to
One
speak?
quick question. These ordinance and resolutions from these private businesses, what does that create and what exactly does it mean?
They're creating, these are businesses that are expanding, they're asking for some type of tax relief.
Tax abatement?
Yeah.
Okay,
In
that's,
some shape or form.
that's what I
Yeah.
figured it was.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Also, may I add that it also enables them, once they're designated a certain area, to get any additional state help
Right.
and grants as well. So there's a combination of things that go along in keeping them here in our county.
Right. Anybody else from the public that would like to speak? Anybody else from the public? Anybody else from the public? Anybody on Zoom? Public comment is now closed. So we'll move on to Resolution 2022-02A, Dwyer Instruments Confirmatory. Do you want to?
So at this point, I'd like to make a.
It's going to be as amended.
As amended.
Make a motion as, but we're going to do it title only first?
Sure.
We're going to do title only as amended. So that's the first motion,
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum.
to read it.
Second.
Second by Mr. Yagowski. Any other questions on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, by title only, Mr. Auditor.
This is a resolution of the LaPorte County Council determining that the qualifications for an ERA, an Economic Revitalization Area, have been met and confirming a declaratory resolution adopted by the LaPorte County Council.
Thank you.
Now I make a motion to support the resolution
As amended.
as amended.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Yagowski. Is there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2022-1B. It's OTEC Corporation Public Hearing. So at this time, do you want to speak on this before since we didn't have the?
I sure do. It is truly our pleasure to have with us this evening the president owner of OTEC Corporation, who will give, and again, with respect to your information and understanding the expansion, I won't even say the word brief. I know that he's very succinct in his description of what they plan to do and will be strict and to the point. But we're fortunate to have Mr. Jack O'Donnell, president and owner of OTEC Corp., to give you that quick overview.
Great.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you
Welcome.
for giving me a few minutes. Yeah, we're very excited. We've had a pretty good run at OTEC, and we've been forced into a situation where our capacity has just stopped. So we're putting in additional equipment to the point, to the tune of probably doubling the size of the company. Going to add certainly a lot more jobs. With our prediction is it'll be 20 in the next year, and probably more. The last time I was here, when we did it in 2018, we said we would have 10, and we've grown our job base by 40. So I'm hoping for the same thing to happen again. And what we do there is we make plastic pellets that are used in the wiring cable business, the jacketing on any electrical wire. That's what our product goes to. And we make shoe soles. So those are our two products, and things are just booming.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Yagowski.
A real quick question. How are you doing with the hiring? Since people are having a hard time, and has the state of Indiana been able to help you out with any of the hiring practices?
No, but we made it. I made a decision earlier in the year that we could all talk about raising rates, but if I don't get people in there working, so we've essentially added $300,000 of payroll to our company over the last year, and that's paid off. For a long time, we were going through the mill and getting people in there and losing them, and now I think we got it to a pretty good level, which is about $20 or $19, and they seem to be holding pretty steady. So.
Thank you for your answer, sir. Good luck.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Sir, you want to go into public hearing now? So, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Public hearing is now open. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on Resolution 2022-01B, OTEC Corporation? Anybody?
If you could, Mr. President, this is Anthony Novak. I'm on Zoom, if you can hear me.
Good evening, Mr. Novak.
How you doing, Mr. Novak?
Good. Good to see you.
I'm here representing OTEC, and I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on one thing that Jack brought up, but just expand it a little bit. So we were in front of you in 2018 where OTEC had an abatement request for approximately $2.1 million. And as he indicated, they projected roughly adding 13 additional employees. That would have brought them up to 78 at that time, and they're at 87. So they're only in year 4 of 10 of that abatement, and they're knocking that out of the ballpark. So they're at that point, they talked about a decades-long tradition of expanding, and they're only continuing that. So this abatement is requesting about $2.9 million worth of personal property over 10 years. So I just wanted to point it out that they are tried and true before you on coming through with their promises.
Great. Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak? Anybody else from the public? Anybody else from the public? Public comment is now closed. We'll move on to Resolution 2022-02B, OTEC Corporation Confirmatory.
I'd like to make a motion to read by title only.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Mullenhour. Is there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. By title only, Mr. Otter?
As regards to OTEC Corporation, this is a confirmatory resolution entitled a resolution of LaPorte County Council determining that the qualifications for an economic revitalization area, ERA, have been met and confirming a declaratory resolution adopted by the LaPorte County Council.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to move the resolution forward.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Cunningham. Is there any other questions or comments?
I have comment, if I may. I've had the pleasure of actually meeting with Mr. O'Donnell recently and taking a tour of the facility. Currently, he leases the space, and now he's planning on buying the space and staying here permanently. So with that, knowing that and doubling the size of the facility and seeing what it has done for our community, I was very pleased to move this forward and to make sure that we reward people who do very well for us in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yagowski.
I'm sorry I didn't ask this question earlier. Of the businesses, Dwyer, OTEC, and Peepers, these 5 or 10 years, I forgot to ask that question earlier, so.
10.
All these are 10. I thought one of them was 5.
Dwyer was originally a 5-year equipment ask, and they pulled back their statement of benefits.
Not because of that.
Related at all
Right.
to that. They are planning a much more significant expansion. I mean, but they're going to be coming back to us. So what you have before you now is a 10-year request.
That's fine, just wanted to, thank you.
And could you, for the public, for people on public, could you let them know where OTEC is located?
Yes. OTEC is located at 4744 East Oak Knoll Road in Rolling Prairie. It's at the furthest eastern end of Highway 2, nearing Highway 20.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2022-02C, Peepers and Salmon Company Incorporated Declaratory.
Mr. President, what you have before you is step 1 in a 2-step process. What I would respectfully request is your support of this step 1 declaratory resolution on first and second reading, and if the council could set a public hearing for 3/28/22, we will plan a workshop between now and then to intimately familiarize the council with their expansion plan.
Great. Do we need to have this read by title only?
Well,
You can have it read.
You can have it read?
Whatever your choice is.
I make a motion to read by title only.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by
Mr. Mikowski.
Mr. Yagowski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Title only.
As regards to Peepers and Salmon Company Incorporated, this is a resolution of the LaPorte County Council identifying and declaring portions of the LaPorte County, Indiana, be designated as an economic revitalization area pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-12.1-1 at SEEK.
Thank you. Is there any, what's your preference?
Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum.
Second.
Second by Mr. Yagowski. Is there any questions? I have one quick question. If, and this is for the attorney or for you, I guess, Tony. If they've been here before, declaratory gets done every time? Even though it's already been declared?
Has it already been declared?
They were.
At the point in time, they were here in 2018, at the point in time they were declared an ERA for a 2-year period of time. And I believe that
All
may.
right, I understand. I understand.
We're
Belt and
taking a different
suspenders,
approach.
let's
All right.
go
got it.
forward.
Which is why you'll see 10-year designations, it makes more sense to.
Right. All right.
For declaratory purpose.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Yagowski.
seems to be that it would be by unanimous support to read the second reading then today. That's what you asked for.
For the next one?
No, you just need to set a public hearing. I understand it, but that's not what he said. Yeah. You just need to set a public
Mr.
hearing
Rodriguez.
next month. You just spoke? Yes. You're good. Okay.
Public hearing for our next meeting date, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
He actually asked for a workshop.
Before.
No, he asked for two, I can listen, he asked for 2 readings, but for motion for 2.
Did you want 2 readings? We don't do 2 readings on a declaratory.
No, we're fine. We just need to set a public
And he
hearing,
asked for a
and then we're gonna set a workshop.
What is critical is that we get the authorization from the council for the public, so that we can publish notice publicly about the public hearing for the 328 workshop, public hearing.
Great, okay. All right. So we're moving on to Resolution 2022-2D, Alexander Chemical Declaratory by, what's your preference?
To read by title only.
Motion by
Excuse
Mr.
me.
Rosenbaum.
So did you all set this for public hearing in March?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't hear that.
Okay.
I didn't hear
So
that.
we're
Do
gonna.
we
we're
need a
gonna-
motion? It's
do
gonna
we
be held
need a-
over for our
Do we need
next
to correct the
meeting.
motion, or
Yeah, let's put that
are
on
we
the
talking
record,
about
please.
which one? The one I just, or?
No, we're talking about peepers.
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 So it'll be at our next meeting, and it'll be just like these. It'll be a public hearing.
Correct.
Mr. Auditor, you have that?
Second.
To be on the
We have a
agenda.
motion and a second.
Got it.
Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Yagowski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
100% legal, Mr. Attorney.
Duly noted.
So, all right. Alexander Chemical by title only, Mr. Rosenbaum, and who else?
Second.
Mr. Yagowski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? By title only?
As pertaining to Alexander Chemical, this is a resolution of the LaPorte County Council identifying and declaring portions of the LaPorte County, Indiana, designated as an economic revitalization area pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-12.1-1 at SEEK.
Thank you. What's your preference?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Cunningham. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that will be put on our next agenda for a public hearing also.
That is correct, Mr. President. You would need to request a public hearing be
Second.
set.
So, motion by Mr. Cunningham, second by Mr. Yagowski, for this to be put on our next agenda as a public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
President, one quick question on this. Any of these couples, are they gonna take any amount of time, or is this a quick explanation?
This will-
Is any of these gonna take a long time to discuss, or no?
Both will be approximately 5 minutes, start to
President,
finish.
I would just like to ask that we just put it on a regular meeting, not have to have, these are not, nothing that's out of the ordinary that we can't handle at a regular
It
meeting.
is at a regular meeting.
He wanted to have it,
A workshop.
I'm telling
he
you
wanted to have
what,
workshops, that's what I'm asking.
I significantly appreciate that recommendation if the council's comfortable with that.
Right. We set the public hearing for our regular meeting, so, yeah, I agree.
Councilman Yagelski is asking that
One step ahead.
there not be a workshop. If
Well,
the
no, that
rest
there'd
of
be a
the
workshop
council.
on the same night, just earlier before the meeting.
No, that we just handle this 5
we
minutes,
just
we
handle
handle it.
it
We
to
can
me.
handle it.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
We can handle it.
I wasn't sure.
We'll talk.
'Cause
We'll talk.
We gotta change our meeting time, remember,
All right.
to 6:30.
Moving on to, is there anything else? Thank you, Tony.
Appreciate your support, council.
Thank you. Moving on to new business, consider approval of the council president's authorization to hire replacement position for, we can do these separate. LaPorte County Community Corrections, a field officer.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, seconded by Mr. Cunningham. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Mr. President, to save time, I make a motion B, C, and D.
So I'll read them real quick. LaPorte County Clerk replaced a deputy clerk that retired, a LaPorte County Prosecutor, a trial support for LaPorte, and LaPorte County Highway, a mechanic. These are all replacements for people that either retired or moved on. Motion by Mr. Yagowski, seconded by Mr. Cunningham to approve those. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next item, Michigan Township Assessor requesting permission to hire 2 assessors. Remember, these are 2 assessors under the Michigan Township's budget, but going to be supervised and trained by the LaPorte County Auditor.
Assessor.
Assessor.
Or if he wants to train him.
Flattered.
Sorry.
Mike Schultz, LaPorte County Assessor.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, seconded by Mr. Gardner and Mr. Cunningham. Is there any questions or comments? And it, just for future reference with replacing these, you're gonna kind of see how things go, and if there's a chance that, you've always been great about employees, and if there's a way to reduce something, you will, correct?
Well, as it stands now, there is only one person running for that position. And I've talked to that person, and I said we would get together and do a budget. So at budget time, hopefully we can do whatever needs to be done, either to reduce, keep the same, change things, whatever. But you'll probably get a totally different budget for Michigan Township next year.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Next item's LaPorte.
Randy, I guess I didn't see that, but I was told to let my people work. Go ahead and let them work. They've accumulated hours. We've got our work done. I'm curious to know how they're going to get paid now.
Did you submit something?
Just we said at the meeting to submit it.
But you tabled it.
No.
No,
We said,
we said submit it.
do it and come back and submit it, and we'll look at it. Send us something.
Did they work overtime?
It was.
Yes,
it was-
some worked overtime, and then the thing I'd asked you guys of the $30 per day, there were 2 that did that, and it came out to like $150.
Break that down and send it to us. Itemize it and
I
send
don't
it.
understand. What do you mean they worked? Well, because your question at the last meeting was you thought they were double dipping.
No, well,
I know.
The thing was,
I know
you
it-
couldn't pay them when they were just working and pay them extra.
So the difference was that our work was done, so they were working on 2022 work. What they did is put their 2022 work aside and worked on the 2021 Michigan Township work to get it caught up.
Right.
On their 8-hour day?
Yes, 7.5 hour.
All right. Submit it, and we'll consider it at next month's meeting.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Next item on the agenda is LaPorte County Animal Shelter considering increasing pay for the 2 part-time vet techs to $18 an hour. I sit on that board, and I'm not speaking for Eric, but I just want to give you an update. So right now, the 2 vet techs that come out to assist with spay and neutering come from the veterinarian's clinic, and they come over there. They're making between $18 something and $21 an hour, and they're getting paid the $15 an hour that the county's capped at.
Right.
So we'd like to increase their pay to an $18 flat rate. That way it keeps those qualified people in those two positions. They come out 2 days a week, I think?
2 days a week, Wednesday and
Right, for
Thursday.
spay and neuters, so.
Mr. President, because of the motion that was made for salaries and because of the specialty of the job, if they don't do it, then we'd have to have an animal doctor come in to do it. The $18 is a reasonable amount of money to ask for because of consideration of the ability to do the job. So I make a motion for the $18 an hour.
We have a motion by Mr. Yagowski, second by Mr. Cunningham. And by the way, this is coming out of they have the funds to pay it, so they're not
Correct,
asking
yes.
for additional funds for it. Any other questions or comments?
And this is only for these two, not,
people.
nothing more.
No,
The vet
just the
Specialty,
two vet techs.
specialty because of
These
this.
are for the vet techs.
Okay.
They're there. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Eric. Good job. LaPorte County Prosecutor requesting permission to disperse funds to Adult Protective Services investigators per a new state grant agreement.
I'm on here, right? Can you hear me?
There he is.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So what we got from the federal government a grant of approximately $17,000 to be able to use if the county will agree to allow us to pay either overtime, hazard pay, or bonuses. And obviously, I know that the county council has already approved some bonuses, and we're not trying to double dip here. You can take back the bonuses for 2022 so we can use this money. We have to use it by June 30th. That's when they're on a different, APS is on a different fiscal year than the county and everyone else.
Is that June 30th of 2022, John, or?
June 30th, 2022, yes.
Okay.
Mr. President, how much are you talking about, John, each employee would receive?
7. How many employees is this for?
It's just for APS.
How many employees is it for? One person?
What's that?
Mr. Lake, how many people is it for? You're froze. Mr. Lake, try again, please.
You have no idea.
Can you touch him?
Let's move on to the next. When he's ready, he can come back.
We'll move on to the next item and
Before
then,
we go on, now.
he's trying to get back in.
Our state, and then he said it was federal, so do we know is it state or federal?
Any question, that's the same thing.
It's probably federal funding that comes through the state, but we should ask, because a lot of time it's passed through, but we'll clarify that.
John, are you back? John?
I got on myself, sorry.
Talk fast.
I'm sitting in the Michigan City Court
Cut off again.
building and my computer just died on me.
All right.
So I've been waiting that long. So sorry about that.
Is it a state grant or a federal grant?
It's a federal grant.
That comes through
It
the
comes through
state?
the Division of Aging.
But it's paid through the state though, John?
It's paid through the state?
Yeah, it's paid. I mean, it'd be paid through the grant. I'm not sure all the specifics. Cheryl's knows more about how the grant is paid, but she was saying to me today that we could pay it through a purchase orders, and issue 1099s for the employees that get the.
Okay.
And we don't. The first step is, will you agree to allow me to pay it? Otherwise, the other thing is we have to go back to the Division of Aging and see if there's another way we can spend this money other than on personnel costs.
How many employees?
It would be everybody in APS, and I think that's 5 people, I believe.
So it's 5 people. It's 5 people. So how much would each person get?
Well, that hasn't been determined because what we were looking at was trying to base it on seniority and how long they've been working here and that type of thing. The parameters we haven't. The first thing was to get the permission. We haven't figured out how we were going to pay it.
All right, we have a motion to table and by Mr. Cunningham, second by Mr. Yagowski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're going to table this till next month, John, so we can get some more information on it, okay?
Okay.
All right. We're going to move on to your next item, requesting permission to use existing extra hire account as an extra hire training account.
Yeah, what I'm asking for is, as you saw, my trial support, Jennifer is leaving, and so these are very highly specialized positions.
and it's hard to, if she leaves and walks out the door, we need to try and train the new person. Luckily, we're bringing in somebody that has some familiarity with the office, but still want to have the ability to pay the person who's coming to take the position. And we don't have an account for that. Can't say, the two people out of one account, one line item. And so we have that part-time work, but I want to be able to pay them commensurate with the position. And so what I was asking for is either to allow me to create a training through that, which I could pay them out of, or to use it out of my infraction deferral account through Vicky's account, and I can't remember what number that is off the top of my head without looking at the numbers, but just to give me the ability to have some way to pay to train people, to bring them in early to replace them, because I've got some people here who are getting ready to retire at some point, and I can't lose the knowledge that they have. If they just walk out the door tomorrow, we're going to have problems. We'll be able to figure it out at some point, but it's just you're losing a lot of experience. So that's what I'm just trying to ask for. And
so they're not an employee yet.
He's not asking to hire somebody.
Yeah.
He's asking to use the money he's asking to use extra hire account for training. Mr. Yagowski.
Not an employee.
This was brought up a couple of years ago. This is the same time. It's really awkward because there should be some cross training, because if this person is an accident, doesn't make it to work anymore, there's a loss of knowledge. There's always going to be a loss of knowledge, but there should be somebody through the department that he works through that should have some knowledge to be able to help out for training. This came up here 2 years ago, and we denied it 2 years ago. I don't know what's changed right now.
But the difference between this, Mr. Yagowski, and last time, they came and asked us for additional funds. He's asking to use his own funds.
But still additional
in these
funds,
accounts,
transferring funds.
in his account to do that because of these specialty positions that he
So he's
has.
to take additional dollars out of an account to do it. It's the same thing, just moving the money.
But the last time they asked for additional money from us out of the general fund. I know. It's the same thing, but there's a difference between having the money in your account to do it
We
and
should
asking
be
for additional.
cross-training.
But this is going to be a new employee. Is it a new employee at that time, or that person hasn't been hired yet?
The person
No, I think Mr. Mollenhauer, what he's saying is that he wants to be able to have overlap, like have the old person still working, have the new person come in and overlap,
So like a 2-week
train
period
for that
and be able to
period,
go
so he's going to
through
have two salaries for that position. That's what I believe he's trying to say.
All right, thank you.
Does that make sense?
exactly.
Okay.
We just want to have like a 1 week period of overlap so that, and we do cross train. I don't know that we have cross training going, but each of these offices is specific. The cross training. We have trial support in each of our different courts, but there's some specialized things that this trial support does for each of the deputies that we just want to make sure that we get we have a lot of trials coming up back to back. We can't screw these things up. So this is a major felony court. And so I'm just asking for, just a 1 week period of overlap. And the worst case scenario is then I just pay them on an invoice. They invoice me because I'm going to pay this person to get trained. I just have to do it. I can't lose the knowledge and then have somebody walk out the door and then all of a sudden we're stuck in a trial and we don't know how to run a certain piece of evidence or submission or something. I just need to do that.
Thanks, John.
So,
Mr. Cunningham?
Yeah.
So as I understand this, Mr. Blake, employee A retires today. Employee B, who is replacing employee A, comes in, but you want to pay employee A for a week to train her. You're just saying pay that as out of a training account. They would invoice and you would pay them, not as an employee because they've already retired. Correct? You'd have a 5 year.
They've given me their notice, and so their last day is Friday. And so what I'm trying to do is bring the person in this week to train them, and then pay that person, the new person, just 1 week's of salary or whatever for that time period of her being in the office to train this week. And at the end of the week, the old employee is retired. And then the other person goes on in that position as of next
We have
Monday.
a motion by Mr. Cunningham. Is there a second? Couldn't get that. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Gardner. Is there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
2 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Roll call. Mr. Cunningham asks for a roll call.
Councilman Garner.
Yay.
Was nay. Councilman Yagelski.
No, actually, it was yes. I said yay, so.
Yeah, that was a yay.
Okay. Councilman Yagelski.
Nay.
Was that yay or nay?
Nay.
Nay.
Councilman Mullenhour.
Nay.
Councilman Cunningham.
Aye.
Councilman Rosenbaum.
Aye.
And Councilman Novak.
Aye.
4 ayes, 2 nays.
Thank you. Moving on to
Number 5.
number 5 is
Park and Rec. Recreation.
Park and Rec. So, I'll let you explain it now.
Yeah, good evening, Jeremy Zecki from the Parks Department. This request was initially in my ARP request. We have 2 mowers that are 11 and 12 years old, so they're getting up there and we're starting to have minor issues with them, and I'd like to replace those. My initial estimate was $20,000 for both of them, and I think the estimate, we just got that for today from K-Tool, and it was $20,878, and that was without trade-ins, and we originally planned on trading those in, but I think Larry Lewandowski would like to try to use those out at the fairgrounds if possible. They are usable, but like I said, they're starting to have issues like a mower that has 1,400 hours is going to start to have. So I was hoping to get a motion of support because K-Tool said they're going to get 3 mowers in, and that may be all they get this year with production the way it is. So if he wanted, if we wanted those, he would like us to reserve, let him know that to hold them for us until we can. No, this was in my ARP money request originally. If you look back at that request.
Motion of support.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Cunningham for support.
Is it 20,000 then, or 21?
28,
It's
not to exceed 21,000.
Yeah.
Not to exceed 21. Sorry, we'll make that clear.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, question.
So, again, I have no problem with replacing it. The problem is you want to do both at the same time. We talked about this before, not just your department. One this year, one next year. So for that reason, only for that.
Turn your mic on.
Sorry, you're right.
In the future, rotate them. Just
This is supposed to be rotated.
It's kind of hard when you're buying.
You should be buying 2 equipments at the same time, and they don't both, you already said they're working, they're just not working up to some standard, and that standard is gonna work somewhere else.
I mean, both of them were bought 1 year right after the other, so they're both about the same age. If you'd like me to buy one this year and then come back and ask for another,
That's what I've done with other departments, you're not the first one. That's what I've done with other departments, this is not the first, but that's just my preference, that's whatever the council wants to do. They don't.
You got more than 2 mowers, don't you?
Yes.
So just on the other ones, just
Yeah.
keep an eye on it, maybe come up with a plan of rotation.
The others are on a rotation, and we bought one back in 2016, I think, and then before that, but.
All right. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Thank you.
Motion passes. 1 nay. Moving on to, what?
Heating unit.
The what?
Heating unit.
Oh, you wanna, Jeremy, you wanna come up for the heating unit while you're here?
Sure. So this is for the new restroom out at Bloom. As you know, and somebody else already said, costs are much higher for everything that's been done. We built that restroom in-house with funding from our park foundation. The original request was for $50,000. We're already at $62,000, and they have approved $64,000 for the total construction of this restroom, and we're getting close. But this heating unit, which will allow us to keep the restroom open year-round instead of having to rent a portage on, is from All Seasons Heating. The quote was $7,875. So.
Make a motion to approve out of the ARP funds, $89.50. If it doesn't come out of that, $89.51.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Mullenhour. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, again to old business, we're gonna go to the, LaPorte County Engineer, request additional appropriation from Riverboat ARP or LIT. I believe we talked about this this is already partially
Mr.
appropriated
President.
out of ARP.
Motion to take it off the table.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski, second by Mr. Cunningham to take it off the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. You sure can, yeah, absolutely.
This was, so you're tabling the...
No, we tabled it last month, we took it off the table to talk about
Oh,
it
you're
now.
talking about the Cougar Road
Right.
project?
Yeah, no,
Meadowview.
Meadowview.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You wanna talk about this one?
Sure.
Come on down.
And so does Tony Hendricks. He's
Right.
here also.
Come on down, Tony,
I'm
come
sorry, I
on.
was confused on what was going on here.
I'd say you're not the first one, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions along with the surveyor on the Meadowview project. And the additional appropriation that was, you already had appropriated some monies, and the bid went over what was originally appropriated, and then also we have some other fees that were in there. There was an addendum.
Thank you.
That added some pipe to the original design that was above and beyond what the bid came in at. That was added on after the bid. And then also there would be some inspection fees, and then, which is not included in the $433,000. And I was asked to separate the asphalt repair to Nowak Drive afterwards. And I did get an estimate for that at $80,000 or $87,000. That can be bid out separate. I just want your approval now, if you approve everything, that there will be an additional probably $87,000 to $90,000 on top of the $433,000 for the asphalt repair that I would bid out separate at a later date. It's not part of this.
All right, we'll take care of that one second. So, on to the regular project. So, the question I have is, I'd like for you guys to speak on the Kingsbury Creek, where the water's gonna go, what you've done to make sure that there's no problems downstream, because I know, as we know, you guys had a conversation with a homeowner, property owner out there, and what things are being put in place to make sure that that's not creating more problems.
Yes, we did, and we appreciate any homeowners because Kingsbury Creek is a very natural creek. It's unique to our county, unique to most areas. So when you look at the map I showed you, which I couldn't discuss on the phone call that we had with the property owners, but you can see like they look almost like roots coming out, and Kingsbury Creek's down there in the blue. It's kind of the fatter blue line, and the smaller blue line just south of that is the watershed. So these watersheds are set up by the federal government. They tell us where the water comes and goes in any specific area. So this watershed includes just south of Kingsbury Creek, and it goes all the way up a little ways past 18th Street. So it's a very large watershed that feeds Kingsbury Creek. What you want to look at is that these root-looking structures are actually drainage ways. So if you look at the end of the red line there, the little hook, that is Nowak, or Meadowview, Nowak Drive. And you can see that the waterway that went from that area over the years has been obstructed through different things, through residential and owners, and just been filled in. So typically what would have happened, that water would have flowed into Kingsbury Creek, and it would have either flowed, one way or another through there, either surface or subsurface, but it would have fed Kingsbury Creek. So in essence, and you know, some people don't agree, but Kingsbury Creek is like any other ditch or creek or river or lake. It's fed by these tributaries and these arms, and they make sure that the water keeps flowing in. Kingsbury Creek is one of the unique creeks that it has some springs, which is very unique and very clean water. So that's something we're concerned with too. But having some of the tributaries which have been obstructed or reduced their flow has hurt Meadowview and hurt anyone upstream anywhere from 18th Street. So some of that water is coming to Kingsbury Creek. Now what we proposed is to put a sewer line in there which would help them pull the underground water.
Let's call it a drainage line.
Not a drainage line, not
Right.
a storm drainage line,
Right.
to help the underground flow of the water seek its way back to Kingsbury Creek. And it's the path of least resistance. We agree that we would get this to go back to Kingsbury Creek. And the people upstream, and not just Meadowview, there are others upstream that would be getting impacted by these water flows being obstructed over the years. And this is what the path we have now. It's just not something that Jay and I or any professional does. We don't just put these plans together and just run and start building them. We have Army Corps engineers, Indiana Department of Environmental Management, Department of Natural Resources, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Those permits are all coming. So those would come through Jay and the commissioners as the executive body. And you could be assured that as the council is approving the funds, those have to be done, and those will be done. And people like the U.S. Fish and Wildlife are very protective of creeks and ditches, especially something like Kingsbury Creek. So this flow will stop short, and there will be some filtration and cleaning of the creek. Now, I do understand that the owners don't want Kingsbury Creek to become a regulated drain or an assessed drain. They want to keep it natural, and we understand that completely. So as long as there was some sort of conservation easement or something that we'd work forward on, we would make sure Kingsbury Creek maintains its natural state as it is. And some of this water will naturally have gone there and it will go back to there. But the water is not, this water is not surface water. So we're not taking water typically you see from farm fields with nitrates or fertilizers that are coming directly, because that water is not regulated in the federal government or the state of Indiana. They're allowed to run that water off into the drainage ditches, and sometimes they have nitrates and fertilizers and things that we don't like in there, and those will surface water flow. This is subsurface water that will work some of the best filters we have, which is called soil, and percolate in these pipes and drain that water back to Kingsbury Creek.
Will that be tested then too?
And there was some discussion, and we'll have some tests. We'll have some tests between what comes off some farm fields and a relating test to some sort of a well, and see what the surface water looks like before we do this or even move forward.
The subsurface water.
And then the water going into the creek will be tested on regular basis for a period of time until we...
It can be.
Well, I mean, we just need to make sure that we're not creating a problem somewhere else.
That can be done, yes.
The monitoring wells can be put in place, and once a monitoring well is put in place, you can go back and open up and test the water.
Right. Mr. Yagowski.
So the difference between this subdivision problem and other subdivision problems is that we are not hooking up directly to anybody in the subdivision. This is just strictly on the road, right?
This is strictly subsurface on the road, so we're not taking water right from the pond, because you ask a good question. Every subdivision in the county or any development has to maintain their surface water, and they cannot just release more water downstream because they built some hard surface. So we do not want to intercept what's already in Meadowview, and that is left in place before this can go in this pipe. I was designing it, and I looked at it, and we almost connected. I said, we can't do that. This subdivision, like any other subdivision, was designed to control its surface water into retention ponds. But that has not worked over the years because the waterways have been obstructed. So we have left that alone and left subsurface water.
So my second question then is a follow-up, because you guys remember we just did something here at the beginning of the year with another property. So we do have recognized problems that and I'm saying this homeowner, but some owners have manipulated the grounds, the property, so that it hasn't worked properly. What's being done for those people that have done that? Either block ditches in. I'm going to go through 10,000 things that could happen, but what are we doing about that? Have we recognized those points that we have made alterations in the groundwater going off, and are we having the homeowners fix those problems?
There are two parts of that. The LaPorte County Drainage Board has jurisdiction over regulated drains and court drains and urban drains, which this subdivision is an urban drain. So in those arenas, they have direct jurisdiction, and we can send them notices and 10-day letters to fix those. These arms or tributaries you're looking at here are not under any regulations, so we are very limited in trying to get them to put back what they obstructed, or if a driveway or no pipe or a pipe has failed. So that's something you could work at over the years, but to get that done has been tried, and this path is obviously the quickest path to get anything upstream taken care of, while maybe we work on new owners and try to get them to unobstruct these drainage ways.
Right.
But those are surface drainage ways.
And believe me, everybody's going to think that this is going to solve every problem. I know that a few people that talk today are very knowledgeable, but trust me, there are going to be people just like the individual that came at the beginning of the year thought we could solve the world's problems. We can't. So we took care of the roadway, but we couldn't go onto their personal property. But we showed them what they did and what and that's something that you guys worked on with them. Yeah, I know you have, Tony. So what are we gonna do to try to benefit ourselves? Because we do know there's some obstructions, and I'm sure enough, when we didn't fix our water problem because we put this in. Somebody's gonna complain about it.
Yeah.
This is only a small representation of that whole area.
You're bringing up a great point. This does not solve 100% of the problem. The total solution, which Jay had looked at over the years, 10 years ago now, 12 years ago, was about a $10 million scenario. This will not solve. This is not a guarantee to solve every problem out here. This is just to make sure that they have some relief and it doesn't keep exacerbating in the future, because at this point, there's the building, like I said, all the way from 18th Street is coming down on them.
It's gonna be a long meeting, so I'll just make it really quick. I would like for you guys because you have knowledgeable stuff of how it's been blocked, at least get the information sent out on that, and I would be okay with that. I mean, I don't want to go into a long meeting, but you understand, you have knowledge of, there's been some obstruction. We need to at least send that information out.
Yes.
If we're gonna go for this.
Mr. President, I would like our attorney give us some legal advice in this in regard to precedent and subterranean water as opposed to surface water.
So I understand that your concern is that as a governmental body, you don't want to make precedent. This matter has gone before the commission. They had independent engineers, they had folks come out and look at everything, and this is a subsurface issue. And so it affects the county roads, it affects our ditches, it affects the drainage, so it affects the county structure in and of itself, even though you have a subdivision there. So this is not setting any precedent. If there's another problem somewhere in the county, it would have to be evaluated, and this matter's been evaluated for years, so nobody is jumping the gun and trying to resolve it.
Thank you.
Yep.
I see our county planner behind you nodding his head 100% in agreement. Is that correct, Mike?
I agree, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? What's your preference?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this out of the ARP funds. I don't want to hit lit. We've been touching that a little bit too much. And so the 8950 or 8951 accounts for the full amount of $433,830.25.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum.
I will second that, but Mr. President, Mr. Rosenbaum, would you please consider my motion that they send letters out to straighten out the...
And I will include in the motion, amend that motion to include the letters, that as part of this, we will include letters of any known obstructions, and whether it be coming from the drainage board, whatever appropriate authorities that we have. And
I second that.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, seconded by... Did Tony leave?
No,
Oh, there he is. I'm like,
I
he
was
just
looking from
walked
over
out in
there.
the middle of the...
Moves fast.
433.
Second by Mr. Yagowski.
830.25.
Thank you.
What, as it is listed.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then as far as the paving goes, just come back to us, and Dwayne's not here, but for the amount that you got, Dwayne could just take it out, looking at Mr. Yagowski, but he can take it out of his budget and then come back to us later when he needs it.
As long as the number was straightened out from last meeting.
As long as that number's somewhere around that 100,000 mark.
Yes, I did get a bid for that. This is separate from the last meeting with the Cougar Road.
Right, this has nothing to do with it,
Yeah,
right.
I just want to make sure that. 'cause
Right,
that's-
this is the, what's the bid, the bid you got right now is around $100,000.
No, it's 80.
Put the pavement back, right?
It's a quotation, it's not a bid. I will need that.
Correct, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
But if it's, so have Dwayne go ahead and do it,
Okay,
and then come back to us later and we can put more money in his account if that's what needed.
okay.
All right?
Very good.
So everything's good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you want
Nick,
to
what?
discuss the Cougar Road at all, Mr. Road?
I thought it was all done.
Well, the price dropped.
Cougar Road? I thought Dwayne's gonna take it out of his pavement.
Okay. I didn't.
And the pricing is...
Wasn't it?
Yes.
But I was told, I don't know.
Yeah, we're done.
Gotcha.
We're good, Jay.
Not on here to discuss,
I know,
so
I know.
it's-
Yeah. Thanks,
Get home
Jay.
and have supper early tonight.
All right.
Get me on the agenda early.
Thank you.
Can we leave too?
Don't count on it.
Next item is appropriation transfer request, Highway Department, permission to spend from the contingency fund for the Franklin Street Bridge. Here representing is Andy Skiat, the amount of $33,860. Just so everybody knows, we appropriated $1.5 million for the Franklin Street Bridge. In that 1.5, there was a contingency of $33,860. He needs to execute that contingency, but in the contract, it said he would come back to us for permission. So that's what it is. It's not exceeding 1.5 million, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr.
Rosenbaum.
Seconded by Mr. Cunningham. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? So give us a quick update on the bridge. You send us emails all the time, but then the
But
public
everybody
knows.
should hear us.
All right,
So,
Wayne.
good.
So almost all the parts are here. I just got an email now when I was sitting there. They're still looking for a few last components for the drives, but they're confident they'll be able to find them. The brakes have arrived from Germany. The motors are here. We're starting to set everything in place. We got 2 weeks left till the scheduled opening. There's still a lot of important work to do because the stuff we've been waiting on has just now started to arrive last week from overseas. We got a lot of our pre-work done. We should make the scheduled opening, but with that said, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done the next 2 weeks. But
And this being a unique bridge, you can't just slap any parts on there.
no, the brakes came from Germany. They came on the Lufthansa. They were supposed to be done. They were a week late because the flights got delayed. Then they split the shipment into separate flights, and the flights came. And since we lost a week, we had to get a courier to pick them up from Texas. But it's
That
we'll
picture
get it.
you sent floating on that bar, that got to be kind of chilly standing down there on the water all day.
The weather's good this week, so
It
that's
is. Great job. Thank you, Andy.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Your Honor, point of order. I don't believe we did a discussion of liaison assignments, or was that implicitly part of liaison?
We're not even
reports?
going to do that. Where was that?
It was just above this.
You jumped the gun with Mr. Sullivan.
Oh, old business. You know what I wrote on there?
Motion to approve your list, Randy.
Second.
All right, motion.
Yeah,
So
but-
there's a motion by Mr. Yagowski,
Yagowski,
second by Mr. Cunningham to approve the liaison assignments for 2022. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, Mr. Auditor. I had scribbled across that when we moved Meadowview up, so I apologize. No excuse. The LaPorte County Clerk requesting permission to spend for perpetuation fund for one computer in the amount of $3,000.
Mr. President, that's been approved. Yeah, okay, second.
That what?
That was approved by the data board, that's all I'm saying. Okay.
Oh, okay. So is that a motion by Mr. Yagowski?
No, by Mr. Cunningham, second by me.
Second by Mr. Yagowski. All right. Is there any other questions or comments?
I'm on the wrong side of your ear.
First of all, your comment about me and him dressing alike tonight
Hey, you guys.
is going to go against your vote. just so you know. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
One's got a tie.
Thank you.
One's got a tie.
That's how you can tell the difference. LaPorte County Hazmat requesting permission to transfer $1,967.40 from one account to another account. Basically, when you read this, is what he's doing is he's just clearing up some accounts on there.
Second.
Yes, that's what's being done.
Right.
You have a motion and a second.
Motion by Mr. Cunningham, seconded by Mr. Rosenbaum. Any other questions or comments on that one? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next item is Building Commissioner requesting permission to spend from account 2067, contractor registration fee, and account 1207, but I think 1207 was eliminated, wasn't it, Mike? Is that the one?
I reviewed the ordinance,
Right.
and I don't feel
Right.
using that account to
And,
supplement. I don't feel comfortable with that, so.
Not to exceed $50,000 for one truck and blinds for his office.
And this is out of Fund 2067?
Correct.
Motion to approve,
Subject to the funds being there.
subject to the funds being available.
Second.
Second, so motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Yagowski. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just want to hold this up. I just want people to know that we did receive a lot of information. We're not just skipping right through on this. It's a long meeting, and so we have a lot of information about it. Thank you.
I got a question on the.
Yes, sir.
The low bid, I looked through it too. The low bid, I think, was what, for the truck, 35? Is that the one you're taking then?
There's two. There's one that was like, 34, 35, and there's one that was 39. The one that's 35 was a V6. So I'm going to discuss that, and, I might most of
Gas
our
prices, you might want to.
That's true, but you know, our other vehicles are V8s, and we've had good luck with how long they last. So,
Refresh my memory, which one was the V6, the Ford?
I believe that was the GMC Sierra.
Okay.
But I'm not ruling it out. But it would be either between that one or the Tahoe. Those are the two cheapest.
That was it,
on
the Tahoe. Wouldn't the truck make more sense though than the Tahoe with resale value?
Well, we have 3 trucks, and we have 1 Explorer. That's an SUV.
Right.
So
that's
we
what
could
you're trading in.
Right. So we could trade that in and get a like vehicle, another SUV. One advantage of that is everybody could pile in that if they got to go to Indy for training or to a large job site. Instead of driving all separate vehicles, they could take one. Another advantage would be the tailgate that opens up when Inspector Dave is in weather and he's got to put his field boots on and go mudding. That protects him from the rain. So there's multiple advantages of doing it that way. But we've narrowed it down to those 2 that out of all the bids I included. We've narrowed it down to those 2.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you for the
Thank you.
presentation materials.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great night.
Next item on the agenda is LaPorte County Animal Shelter requesting permission to spend from the donation account for LED lighting throughout the center and installation of additional FRP, and that's a kind of a roofing structure and enclosure outside, correct? No?
Approximately 3 years ago, there was some
That's right.
remodeling done on the west end of the shelter, where installed were new LED lighting and the FRP board on the walls. It's a wall covering. And what I'm
I
asking,
know what you're doing. Okay.
what I'm asking is to continue that toward the east end. There's a small hallway there that goes outside, and then where the dog kennels are.
Right.
And then that would be the LED lighting and the
And
FRP board.
I asked you earlier about, and after talking to the finance committee, asked about grants
I did.
for LED lighting.
I went through a couple. One is roughly $100. The other one I went through NIPSCO, and if I'm understanding it right, we were approved for 8 something. The only problem is it has to be purchased and installed first before you submit the grant.
So you could still do that?
Yes, I can submit the grant once the materials are purchased and installed.
Correct, once they're installed. So there is some relief there.
Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank
Motion to
you.
approve.
Second.
Motion by,
Note that it's all out of donation fund anyway.
correct. Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Cunningham. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you for your additional
You put
work.
the great job. I just also want to commend, Amy Boyd recently retired from the animal shelter. She'd been out there for a long time, a great volunteer, not a volunteer, she's been a great worker, but she does more and above and beyond. So kudos to her and and appreciate all she did. Thank you, absolutely. Thank you, Eric. Next item on the agenda is adult probation requesting permission to spend from probation user fees for 3 chairs in the amount of 3 chairs, 1 computer, 1 monitor, 1 scanner.
1 shredder.
For 1 shredder in the amount of $3,500. And then he's also asking for a computer, 3 computers in the amount of
Mr.
$5,000.
President, motion to approve both of those. That was both approved by the data.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski, seconded by Mr. Rosenbaum for both of them.
Could I make a real quick comment?
No. What?
The 3 chairs, can we go to 4,500 because
Wasn't
the
happening.
You can't.
monitor slipped by me? So no more than 45 rather than 30.
Does it matter if it's a permission to spend, Mr. Attorney?
It does not matter.
Okay to go to-
But if you.
So, Mr. Yagowski,
45.
45.
I second it, so I'll approve the second.
Question. You're going to owe us. Question.
So, along with this, I do appreciate your due diligence. I would ask you to go in front of the judges, because I know this is not a formally, so I'm formally asking the council can either accept this or not, because they need to allocate the money they promised for this project for the Michigan City Courthouse. So I'm asking for that at the same time.
So Mr. Yagowski, so we're talking to, with Treasurer Winsky with the project, so one of the things that we talked about is the list of the items after the finance committee, and Mr. Ivorick is on that list, so.
No, but I
We're
did talk
following
to him, and
up.
he would like to have permission, because his job is to go in front of the judge.
Right.
I can't approve that, but I can take that to them and we can go from there.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is LaPorte County Auditor / Treasurer requesting additional appropriations for Riverboat or ARP or LIT for the Brown Mackey expenses. Snow removal, well, you want to do these one at a time?
Yes.
Snow removal in the amount of $10,125. Think they want to know why this was contracted out, Larry?
Well, the reason we contracted out is because we sat down with the highway department at the time, because it's a complete parking lot that had to be done over there. It would have had to use the highway department's vehicles to do it. We have 3 vehicles that we plow snow over here with. We take care of the JDC building, the community correction buildings, the fairgrounds, the museum, the buildings around this over here. So by the time we would have made our way over there to get that done, the buildings would have been open, especially with the snows that we've had lately that come in at 5 and 6 o'clock in the mornings, and we're opening up by 8 o'clock. So the snows that we did have over there that we did try to go over and plow, we got our truck stuck twice trying to plow in it because it was so heavy and there's so much over there. Like I said, it's a complete parking lot. We actually had to have the county come over there a couple of times. That's the reason, talking with the highway department, could they manage to do it? And like he said, he'd have to take one of his vehicles off of the road to do it, so we opted to hire that out.
Mr. President.
Mr. Yagowski.
So the question comes in, the truck was specifically bought for the Michigan City, and
The truck, which truck?
the truck that you have, the plow truck. You have a plow truck that was
Right.
generated just for Michigan. I think it was done in Mr. Cooley's administration, but whatever, okay? So when this came up, and this come up just surprised a lot of us when this came up, you didn't ask for permission. You don't have an account for this. This was supposed to have been done with the truck that was purchased for you for Michigan City.
Okay, well, I was not unaware that that truck was specific for Michigan
Yeah,
City.
Mr. Cooley came, I believe it was, and he's the one that got the truck for Michigan City. So the truck, adequate to do Michigan City, this is a straight plow back and forth. What would be the difference between trying to plow snow, and this year was one of our least amount of snow accumulations that have been there. I mean, if you had stuff that builds up, I understand, you just push the heavy mound. But what was the reason for that? That's what they're asking.
The reason why well, for one thing, I was never informed that one truck needed to be in Michigan City. If that's where it needs to be, we'll put it in Michigan City. That doesn't matter.
None of your
But
trucks
then I'm going
need.
to take away from utilizing and keeping the buildings over here opened up too.
So how did you do Michigan City for the short period of time for the last 2 years? How long have you been? 2 years?
From the beginning.
How many years have you been doing this job?
I've been doing it for the past 4 years.
Okay, so how have you done it for 4 years? And
Once we took over Brown Mackey, we've been hiring that out because of the size of the parking lot.
Correct. How did you do Michigan City? Because it's actually more cumbersome because of the
Did you
Arizona.
contract it out, or did you do it?
No, we take care of what we can over there. Yes, we
The
take care of-
courthouse, you've always plowed the
Right.
courthouse.
We take care of the courthouse. We hire out Brown Mackey. Brown Mackey is 3 times the size of parking lot that we
But,
have.
but you understand, it's actually easier. It's just a straight back and forth. There's no obstacles. Michigan City is a huge obstacle.
Just because
Plowing
it's,
out the entire parking lot at Brown Mackey when we only needed a third of it.
we did plow out the entire parking lot because of how parking was. They used 3/4 of that parking lot.
Well, there's no way we're gonna have enough cars parking for the courthouse then.
Well, we don't have any parking for this courthouse here, so.
Yeah.
Well, the commissioner
They
said there
used
was plenty of
3/4 of that parking lot. If you go over there and you ask security,
don't
that
go there.
parking lot was 3/4 of the way full.
Mike, I got a question. For the past 4 years, though, until we renovated the courthouse in Michigan
For the
City.
past 2 years, we've been doing Brown Mackey.
Okay, right, 2 years. That you had a truck designated for that parking lot
No,
there,
we drive
right?
over there. After we take care of it, we drive over there and take care of what we need to. We start.
Who's
somewhere.
gonna plow the new courthouse?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Right now, we're gonna designate one of us to go over there. We're gonna designate a person that goes over there first thing in the morning. Takes
That's
care
the
of it.
plan.
That's the plan.
Right. You're not gonna contract that out?
No.
Who's doing 8th Street? Who's doing 8th Street?
Well,
Who did it in the last 4 years? Who did 8th Street?
whoever goes over there is gonna do it.
Was it contracted out?
We did have the person that did 8th Street this past year did the EMS buildings for us.
Okay, you also understand that you didn't, since you just came up with this was never approved. You never came to the council. We just read about it. We were shocked that everybody's seen it. You don't have a budget for it. You just decided to do it without the council's approval. That's what they're asking.
This was talked about when we first went into Brown Mackey. We talked about it when we were leasing Brown Mackey, and I brought it up. I said, there's no way that I can
Are these the
maintain
meetings
that
you have with
large
Joey
department.
Winsky? Are these the meetings you have with Joey Winsky?
Yes.
These were not the meetings with the council members.
Again, that was, what I'm saying to Mr. Yagowski is that I brought it up to her and said, these are things that you need to bring up at that time in order for us, and the discussion was had at that time, that we were not able to do that size of an area with the vehicles that we have without getting assistance from the county highway or us having some outsider do it. And that's where it came about.
So what's your preference?
I also have a question. I thought some of the costs here, and this is just for clarity, for myself, I didn't get an opportunity to speak to you beforehand, so I usually do. We have costs here with asterisks for the dumpsters, front entry.
Let's do, we're on the one. We're gonna do
just
one
doing it one at a time? Okay, then I will hold my question.
Right.
What company did you have for the snow removal?
JK3.
Did you get prices?
Yes.
How many times did they plow?
Probably 12 times. Salted each time. I think there was a couple times they actually had to salt twice because of ice.
The sheets are in your packets that show the itemization, actually.
Mr. President, with the understanding that Michigan City needs to be done with our people, I'll make a motion that we approve this one expenditure for Brown Mackey.
Approve this what?
This one, you said do one at a time. This one expenditure.
Right.
For Brown Mackey out of ARP.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski, seconded by Mr. Mullenhour. With the caveat that if you need to contract out plowing, please come and ask. So.
And that's going to be lost revenues.
What's that?
Yes.
Yes, less revenue, yes.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Next item is a dumpster, $1,500.
The dumpsters that you're paying for, the dumpsters that had to take the building material that had to be removed out of there. Everything in that building that we put in had to be removed. That means all the raised benches, plywood, the carpeting that we went to make the benches, they had to be removed. Everything had to be put back the way it was before when we walked into the place.
Mr. President, the same motion for the dumpsters out of the recovery, ARP recovery.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski, second by Mr. Cunningham. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item is front entry, $6,500.
Okay, now the front entryway, we put a price into it. We got a price from, we started working with Meyer Glass on it. We have the front entryway that was there, okay, on the inside. But we're trying to work with the owner of not having to put it back in. They have not made, so it's not saying that that money's going to be spent. We're trying to get them to say that we don't have to put that in because we tried to show them that there's the way we had to darken out the front windows, people can't see in, and that was the whole reason they wanted it back in. So when we took it out, we kept it, but we're trying to get them to say that we do not have to reinstall. And with it being reinstalled, some of the glass is going to have to, nothing goes back perfect. We measured it out, nothing goes back in perfect the way it was taken out. So on that, we got a price from Meyer Glass with the hopes that we don't have to use that.
So
We're
you
still
don't
working
need
with the
that.
bank on it.
So you don't need that right now then?
Well, we figured we put it in there so we didn't have to keep coming back every 5 minutes to ask you, but it doesn't mean that we have to use it. We're waiting for the bank to actually give us their verdict of, yeah, leave it out or you have to put it back in.
I'll make a motion to table that.
Motion to table by Mr. Mullenhour on this item. Is there a second?
A second.
It's a table.
It's a table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr.
Second by Terry.
Terry. Lots of people. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That item is tabled. Utilities, $19,273.04.
Can we throw water in it as also?
And water, why is that not part of a utility? Plus $500 $50.
Bottled water, right?
What's that?
It's a bottled water?
No, that's
that's
city
the
water.
water
City
bill.
That's city water. The reason the utilities is in there, because we're still paying utilities, even though we've gone in and we've.
Not anymore. We were paying, right?
Well, I haven't heard that we have to keep utilities on in there because we still have the lease on it. They haven't taken the lease off yet. So we're still actually paying you, but we've turned everything all the way down in there.
When is the lease up?
I haven't been, we've been out of there since Wednesday or Thursday of last week. We're waiting to hear from them, from the bank.
Okay. Mr. Yagowski.
Well, I just heard Mike say the same thing I would say. They forced us out. They wanted us out early. But we already had it done. We should have been out early anyway. But beside that point, they forced us out. So whose attorney's taking care of this right now, this lease?
I believe Ms. Winsky is working with Shaw and the bank.
Commissioner's attorney.
Yeah, Commissioner's attorney are working with the bank, that the owner.
Is Joey on this call?
So, no, I don't think so. So, I'd entertain a motion from the council to send a request that the county attorney, I don't think, unless Ms. Guy DiMartino wants to do it.
I do not. I wasn't involved in the
I know you weren't. That he sends a letter to them stating that this is our last, that this needs to be terminated and done, and that, will this take us, are we gonna get another utility bill on top of this?
Mr. President, we have to because we're 30 days behind. Even
I
if-
get that, but,
Yeah.
or is it, you didn't budget into this?
I didn't set this budget in. We sent them what the bills that we had to date, and that's the way it got put in, I believe.
So there might be another bill.
I must say there's probably
But
going
in
to be
this,
another bill.
in this letter that the attorney needs to send also states that we're done paying the utilities.
Right.
And we're not paying any more.
So, Mr. President, so there was a cost involved with the lease. There's a cost involved with it, with carpeting, with all this.
Right.
That was paid for. This was all money that was appropriated. How do we not have enough money in the account? I know you can't answer this question, so I'm
You're asking- yeah, you're
I
asking
am
me a
not,
question I can't.
I am not comfortable with paying this because these things should have been covered under the original contract. Whatever date we're supposed to
So
move
what
down
would you
by.
like to do? Short of, so we should request the information from the
Yes,
commissioner?
before we go any further.
Let's have a meeting.
I motion table it.
I'll second.
Motion to table by
Excuse
Mr.
me.
Cunningham.
Point of order,
second-
please.
What?
Excuse me, please.
What?
Say, excuse me, please.
We're gonna table something real quick.
Right.
Wait, you better, hang on, is it gonna change the table?
Right now, Brian Mackey account's in the negative. And that's the reason a lot of
That's why they're asking for money.
Yes.
That's why I want to know why it's negative. There's nobody here to answer.
No, sir.
Motion to table.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Yagowski, second by Mr. Cunningham to table the last two items until the commissioners give us an explanation
Why it's not covered.
why it's not covered. And what the total amount's gonna be, because this isn't the total amount, so.
Okay.
And if we're out of there, we're out of there.
Again, we were out of there last Wednesday. or
I get it,
Thursday,
then somebody needs to send them notice that we're out of there and,
Well,
clock stop.
we did meet with the realtor there, and we walked him through everything. He was supposed to get a couple of answers for us, and as of when I asked Ms. Winsky on Friday, we had not heard back from the realtor yet. He did send an email saying that he's waiting for the bank to respond to our request.
right. And just so everybody knows, the landlord is a bank.
Yes.
Banks aren't real attentive to responding all the time.
Somewhere there's got to be, it's got to say contingent that as of this date, this time, we're not paying anymore.
Right.
Because it's to the bank's advantage to
Delay.
delay the
I agree.
response, of
I
course.
totally agree, Mr. Crane. I don't have purview to that contract.
You'll be at the commissioners' meeting Wednesday morning, correct?
I will.
Thank you.
I will.
Can we also get the request to get the meter readers out there immediately?
Well, we can't,
can't.
I don't think we can turn the utilities
We can't
off.
turn up, but we can get them to tell us where we are right now. Stop the bleeding.
Mr. President, this is not a motion, I mean, this is, we've already made a motion for this, but this is not, this question I'm bringing up has nothing to do with us.
Okay.
So Mr. Haney's here, he's got a meeting coming up. Mr. Haney, you understand our understanding of this? We're not here to discuss why we tabled it, but you understand that we are mass confusion of what's going on as far as billing.
Right. And
You're gonna be there, so you're a representative, so.
the commissioners need to direct that if they contacted, I think the contract should be done the date that they contacted the realtor and told them, hey, the building's done, we're out of here. you need to turn this back over. So, and it's fine, didn't they have somebody buying it or doing something?
I don't believe at this time they do anymore.
But I thought, oh, they might not. Originally, they had
There was
pushed
at
it.
one time, and now there's not, so.
All right. So you understand?
Vaguely, if perhaps you could rephrase it one more time, and I don't mean to be cryptic.
There's funds that were available for this project. There's an account for it. We didn't exceed those accounts. We're actually moved out earlier than we were supposed to. Why do we have to pay bills in this?
That's an excellent question. Unfortunately, as the commission prior to my being elected set up a pretty definitive package where pretty much the commission president and the former auditor, now treasurer, Joey Winsky, pretty much handles most of that almost exclusively on the commission side. So myself as a commission member, I really don't get any updates or.
But I meant you're representing us right now, so we're asking you as well.
Appreciate that. Did you
I'm on
hear the
that,
proceeding?
I'm on that committee also, but I don't understand why the funds are, why it's in the negative. I can't answer that, so I
That doesn't
wasn't
make
on
sense to me either. Hopefully they'll.
The other thing is someone needs to direct your attorney to send notice to the people. If you remember, when we moved in, there was some issues, and it took a long time to get them to correct some issues, so we just need to send notice that we're done paying.
So we're done. Okay.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Were there revised terms for the Brown Mackey early termination lease agreement?
That's commissioners, that's not.
Commissioners.
If there is, I haven't seen it, but again,
I think so.
As far as being kept in the loop by my fellow commissioners, it's just not happening at this point. There's emails going back and forth that don't include me, so I wish I could speak more
I'm gonna call
educated
for it in
manner on
just
this.
a
It's just I don't have that information. It's
All
not
right.
not being shared with me.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Redevelopment Commission requests an additional appropriation from Riverboat ARP or LIT for the 421/300 North Water Sewer Project in the amount of $2 million.
Motion to approve out of ARP. This should come directly out of the ARP 8950 account, because this is what the commissioners had set up.
Is there
approved?
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum,
Second.
second by Mr. Mullenhour. Is there any other questions or comments? This is for the water sewer expansion to 421 and 300 North. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next, LaPorte County,
Mr. President,
Maintenance?
Mr. President, just a thing, you asked for us, and we made motion, but this is not even close to being done. There's a lot of things that still have to be done, correct?
what are you talking about?
The one we just voted for, 421?
This one, they have already bid it out and the project's getting ready to start.
Okay, there's nothing that's holding this project up.
Correct. Well, I think they've got everything finalized with the homeowners. They know, I had a talk as recently as this afternoon about some finalized, they think.
I don't want to come next meeting, they say, well, we're held up by it, because I just.
No, as of this afternoon, everything was a green light.
Okay.
And other comment on it is that it's what they're also doing is they're refinancing an old loan from 7% down to 3.69%. So it is taking that a little longer, but the whole big deal is the savings is there.
So they're gonna save that
just wanna make
3% over a
sure.
10-year period.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yep. All right, next item is LaPorte County Maintenance. Request additional appropriation from Riverboat ARP or LIT. Fairground Infrastructure, this is what Larry came to us for. That and the Pioneer Land, he came to us for favorable vote last month, and now we're just appropriating the money for it.
Motion to approve.
Out of ARP or?
Yes, the 8950
or 51.
or 51.
Whatever it takes.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Mullenhour, second by Mr. Rosenbaum.
And those are the first two items?
First two items.
Correct?
Yep. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Engineering fees for Rolling Prairie Project, $87,500.
Yeah, I was here a few months back and asked for a motion of support to keep moving on that. Now, we've got the engineering fees that are coming about, so I'm here before you to ask for the $87,500. That was the low bidder on the engineering fees when we put it out to get prices.
Right.
Motion to approve out of ARP funds.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Mullenhour. Question?
So this is gonna also include the single building, right?
What we've done is we've got it so that the two buildings are separated. As we talked about the last meeting, Mr. Gelski, I remember we're going to put it out for bid with the two separate buildings because what we've done is when we looked at it with the building in a one big footprint, okay, it encroached very close to those two landmarks.
It did, but it did, but it didn't. So I know very close does not mean it did. So where are we at with the one building? I told you I can only prove this because some builders don't like this. They have the ability to share, and that's what we have in this county. I'm asking for it, and I asked for it just before. This is not surprising you. So I know you knew I was going to ask this question.
Yeah, I did.
So why is the part that I asked for not included? Because you said you were going to include it.
Well, I said we were going to look and see where the prices came back, and then if we were way over budget, we would relook at that. One of the things that we've looked at is the square footage is still the square footage, okay? The price is not going to change on the square footage. One thing that will happen because we have an occupied building on the one side, which is different than what it is for like the highway garage. Highway garage has a classification of its own, okay? When we add a building that becomes an occupied residential style building because we're housing people, it changes where you have to start putting in different types of walls. We have to have 2-hour firewalls. We go over the square footage. A 5,000 square foot building, which we're at, right now we're at 4,900 some square foot. Once we hit 5,000 square foot on an overall footprint of a building, the codes in there also state that you have to put fire suppression systems in there. So we tried to keep...
But we're below that, we understand it. So all these things that you told me, I understood all the way along. I've asked you this since the project started. I haven't refrained from it.
I understand. We're trying to do this in the least expensive manner that we can.
In the least manner originally was, and I've talked with the engineers, was all one building. So I don't want that not included in this project. It's fair for us. We've asked from day one because we don't even know if we have money to be able to put anybody out there. There is no dollars right now available, and I know we've talked about this. It was cheaper to do the building at the same time. We decided since it was coming to the ARP money, we were going to do it. But we don't have, ARP is not going to pay for people to stay out there 7 days a week. We've talked about this already. So we need to work on this as a one project deal like we agreed to. Since we can work together. I was in another project here, we put two buildings together over here on the fairgrounds. Nobody liked it, but they had to play nice and we got them all to work together. This is the same thing. I don't want to hear that this, because that's not, some of that stuff's not, because it's close, is not how the rules work.
Is that possible to still do, Larry?
Well, we'd have to put it out for rebid. We would have to get it out for rebid.
I asked for it out as an additional bid.
I asked for it a long time ago.
Right.
A year ago.
So put it out for another bid and then you can compare it.
We would have to do that, which would...
And it's not a surprise, Larry.
I understand.
I understand what Larry's saying, but I agree with Mark. He asked for that, so.
All right. What's your, so back to the original thing, the engineering, 87,500.
I make a motion to approve with the contingency of also with the additional, of looking for the one building, one design.
Motion by you.
Well, I made the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then Mike seconded, so I'm going to add the caveat that you are now suggesting that we also take a look at it as a one building.
Can I?
Yes.
Can I ask what?
The option.
The option of one building.
Can we look at the bids coming in at separate and then ask for the cost to?
No, because the engineer's going to ask for additional monies. This is all one type of deal. So get the cost together so we have both coming in. This is not a surprise, Larry. It's a year ago I asked, a year ago.
Well, the problem I see is going to happen is when he asks for bids, they're not going to, when you join those two buildings, you got to put the firewall in. That's not in the design.
That's something that they can, engineers go, a firewall is very simple. It's not hard to design a firewall. So I work on buildings too, like you have.
It's going to put a month to 2 month delay on.
We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We don't have money to support this right now. So we wouldn't have done a delay if we listened a year ago.
Right.
You listen to other people.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Was that a motion to table?
No.
Was what?
Nice try.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
You passed it.
Oh, you
Motion
passed it?
passed
Okay.
it.
You all voted for
And with
it.
adding the option of.
Stay up with
one
this,
building.
Tim. Come on. You got to keep up with this.
Let's get
Then we're moving fast.
We're now down to the EMS.
Next item is LaPorte County EMS, request additional appropriation from Riverboat ARP or LIT for 2 ambulances and loose equipment. One unit is $231,677.54. Loose equipment is $16,113. Unit 2 is $243,677.44, and loose equipment is still $16,113. And I believe we were able to piggyback off a bid last year. And the only difference is there was an increase in the chassis cost on unit number 2, is that correct?
Yeah, unit number 2 was not a tag along, but they did give us fourth quarter special pricing and special production time. So as you recall, I mentioned it back in October when I came before you and got the approval to move forward with this. It saved us about 18 months of production time and about $32,000 by doing this. So it's quite significant savings.
So this truly is an effect of our economy and the government that we have right now, because of the conditions we have right now.
Right.
I make a motion that we take this out of ARP 8950, 8951.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski, second by Mr. Rosenbaum. Is there any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? What? What?
I'll get the answer from him later.
What's your question?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
All right, we already did the engineer. LaPorte County Sheriff requested additional appropriation from Riverboat, annual or other accounts for annual internet costs, the amount of $28,505.
Good evening. Since we actually submitted this for an appropriation, the bill has been reduced a little bit. So in actuality, what we're asking for is $24,505. Apparently, in talking with IT, there's a transportation fee that the commissioners are taking care of, so that shaved the money down. But nonetheless, we are asking for $24,000.
Sheriff, real quick, share with us what this bill originally was.
The original bill for our internet usage was $146,685. It was a 1,800% increase over the previous year, which was $7,500.
So, since, if I may, with the council, to Commissioner Haney again, picked the wrong meeting to come to, Joe. That's all I can say. The commissioners need to find out if this is one department and they receive a bill of $140,000 for internet service for 1 year, and that bill's negotiated down to $28,000 because somebody's still paying the other $4,000. Negotiated down to $28,000. How much is our internet service for the county, for everybody? I mean, that would be something. If you could find that out, I'd really appreciate it, because this is getting to be unbelievable. I mean, we could probably go to Comcast and save money, and I don't want to say that.
I do have to take my hat off to our IT department, in particular Roscoe Hoffman, who was able to negotiate it down so much, save taxpayers a lot of money.
Commend him 110%. But first of all, it's ridiculous.
Can I speak?
Bills. Who is that?
Darlene.
That sounds like Darlene.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the previous bill, the 98,000, was late charges, just because they hadn't had any increase in their bill in a very long time. We were able to get them to waive all of that, and he's only getting billed for current year. And the only reason we're checking to see if we can't combine the sheriff's side, sheriff and 911, with the county side and pay one bill versus two. But because we were always two separate networks, that's the way it's always been done. So we are looking at combining.
Is it possible to go out for bid for our IT for the county?
For the internet?
For the internet?
I'm sure it is.
Maybe we should do that. I mean, it seems like it's an awful large expense.
Okay, so that's not only just internet costs, it is like costs to connect to the other building, because we have direct fiber to a lot of the other buildings.
Right.
Like the sheriff connects over to Long Beach and Michigan City PD. I mean, so it's not just...
I thought 911 connected to Long Beach. You connect to them too?
Well, it's
separately?
the sheriff and 911 together, I believe, is what the bill is.
You connect
That's
them.
why we have IT.
You connect them, but they won't use the radio transmission. I won't even go there. I won't even go there.
Another subject, yeah.
So the
Mr.
question,
Yagowski.
So, over the time, this is a question for Darlene, because I've been on both the data board and we talked to the sheriff in the past. A lot of this, was it somewhere else hidden, not trying to hit on purpose, but was it covered under something else? So how did we not know?
We paid for it out of our budget. It was low enough that we could afford it, and we didn't have to come to you for an appropriation.
That's
This
right.
year was so large, we didn't have a choice but to come to you.
Fine, so it sounds like we made a negotiation this year, but this is say if we currently do what we're doing right now, they're not gonna, of course, negotiate the same deal again next year. She's, not what she's doing, I'm talking about just this particular company, that's all.
So how much is in your budget for internet?
We don't have an internet budget per se. It comes out of,
IT?
pardon?
IT?
No, commissary or misdemeanor, I believe.
No, I don't believe either of those.
No, I appreciate you bringing those up.
I know that this hasn't come up, Sheriff, because we, as you know, we go over your budget very well. So I know this hasn't come up in conversation, even with Mr. Moldenhauer, I think, I don't remember this ever coming up as a conversation. So on this question, okay, please define what they claim as late charges. Or
They
whoever
waive
claims.
those. They waive those.
I don't even, but what does it mean? I know they waived
I
it.
think Darlene will have to, because I don't think it's in the true sense of you thinking that
Yeah, I know.
we paid the bill late, so
So
therefore. we
Darlene,
have a
what
late
is there,
charge.
what do they consider a late charge?
Well, it wasn't really a late charge. It was to catch them up on the increases that they never had. Because the same thing with like the schools, they have to.
I don't think we negotiate with them. They just probably do it if we take their business away from it because they're going to try. It's like the water department telling me we owe them $100,000 because we
We're gonna bill you for all the increases we
Increase that
didn't
we
bill
didn't
you
pay.
for.
So
Now-
I credit you trying to negotiate, but I don't think this is a really negotiation. It sounds, something don't sound right.
It sounds like somebody's sitting there going, should I send it to them? Well, send it to them, see if they pay it.
This reminds
What
me
the
of the,
heck?
of our, the Polish group with our radios that we owe for 4 years.
Whoa.
I'm Polish, I
No,
accept
this was previous. They had always been trying, or at least for the last few years, trying to raise the sheriff's costs, and then the sheriff never budgeted for it, and I never budgeted for their
No,
increase.
that's why I asked that question.
So we always only just paid what they had been paying.
So
That's what the sheriff paid, and they did, they accepted it and didn't.
$28,000 seems like a pretty fair price to say that it should be $140,000.
Right,
I'd
but
like to
that
know
was-
how much our
That
total
wasn't for
internet-
previous years where they never
Okay,
were able
we
to
understand.
increase their internet fees.
Sheriff, what was your, or both you two, what was your bill last year?
Well, I think I quoted in the email, $7,505.
So it's tripled.
So
Went up
This is triple.
279%.
So with this, increase, Sheriff, of the 70, of this,
Wait a second.
Sheriff, with this increase from
Over there
the,
if you're gonna talk to me.
Not the counties?
Sheriff, with this increase from the 75 to 2,800, is this for a new contract? Or is this, are they going, this starting as of January 1st and we're back, they didn't do it in time and we're trying to catch up? Do you have any knowledge?
I don't understand. All I know is that I received a bill on January 1st that said it was a past due notice, but the billing period was January 1st through December 31st. And already it was past due.
Out of
Of
no,
2022.
Yes.
out of no disrespect, because we only owe 7,500 in my eyes right now, that we need the attorneys to look at this stuff. I'd say we table it, not that you're being affected by it. If you need to, for us to take the difference of it, I think this needs to be investigated. So I'm asking to table this time. No disrespect to you.
No, not at all, but I don't want to be cut off from
But I will
internet
send, but I will
service
send, we can send the 7,500.
either. Okay.
So I will make a motion.
Get
So
you-
we have good faith. that
We'll get you a
we're-
dozen MiFis.
Okay.
We have a motion to table, is there a second?
Or we do have a motion to pay $7,505.
I'll make a motion, I'll change my motion.
What is your motion?
I changed my motion because he doesn't want to be cut off, he's absolutely right. We'll pay the money for 7,500 and tell them we'll have the attorneys negotiate with them. They want business, they're not gonna just
Motion by,
cut you off.
motion to pay $7,500.
$7,505.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
From where?
What?
From where?
He's the county attorney.
From Riverboat. Are you okay with Riverboat?
We should pay it from general fund because it's a recurring expense.
We don't even know it.
General fund's not listed. General fund's not listed.
We can only pay from the.
Riverboat.
7,505.
And in the past, Mr. Cunningham, in the past, we've taken stuff like this out of Riverboat.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski, second by Mr. Rosenbaum to pay the previous year's balance, same amount, $7,500 and $5. And then the commissioners are gonna look into this and
request the
renegotiate.
commission attorney.
And tell us, people, we'll consider them as negotiation tools, that we gotta find out what the best thing for the county is, that's all.
And there needs to be a way to come up with it. I mean, we need to have a contract, this, you know.
I'm not knocking
this
it, Mayor, but I don't remember ever this ever coming up in budget times, and I'm not,
It's because we paid it out of our.
But I get that, you know, this might be the value that they're saying we're getting, but nobody pays $140,000 for internet service. I mean, we're gonna shop that. Plus, we probably need to bid it then, if that's okay, so.
Did you say Riverboat?
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next item is request an additional appropriation out of general fund for hiring courthouse security not to exceed $250,000. Mr. Yagowski and I went and met with the sheriff at the new courthouse. We reviewed it. Just gonna speak. One of the things that we wanted to try and see if we could do is give 2 employees at this time and see how things work and then go from there. So these are conversations I had with the sheriff back then, so it's up to you guys. If you want to do more, they're about $70,000 that's with benefits, am I correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So we'll make a motion to approve $140,000 out of the general fund to hire 2 people. And that includes the ability to hire 2 people.
You can do more if you want. I'm just telling you the
That's
conversation.
what I said I'm comfortable with.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Gardner. So, any other questions or comments?
I got a question.
Yep.
Sheriff, what do you think? 2 would suffice for now?
Well, I think it's better than nothing. I was going to suggest 3 for now, but certainly it is the slower time of the year right now. We can see, but don't be surprised if we come back, because this is not only for Michigan City, but it's also to help us cover what has always been a lack of manpower in LaPorte as well.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. 5's not been enough for all these years, and adding 2 for that larger courthouse, I don't think that's going to be sufficient, but if you're willing to try it.
We can go back and make a recommendation.
You're you're permanently printed on our agenda, so you're here almost every month, Sheriff. So, and that's a good thing. So don't be afraid to come back.
I'm not.
You know, and you know what I'm saying.
He's the one carrying the gun?
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff, don't leave.
Sheriff.
So last month, the point of clarification had to do with the 1% kicker for the deputies, and I was asked to look at that, and I looked at the tape, and based on the language, it appears that the 1% should go to the courthouse deputies, but not the mechanics.
Right.
Just for clarification again.
Correct. And the Finance Committee reviewed that also, and they agreed. So, all right.
Thank you.
Next item is LaPorte County Planner requests additional appropriation for major moves or lit for the community crossings for $1,405,319.87 and the Marquette Trail Grant Match $237,000. Mitch Bishop, you're on.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Yeah, so as you're well aware, the county received $1 million grant for community crossings to pave 2 separate roads, 500 west between US 6 and State Road 2, roughly 5 center lane miles of pavement, and County Road 150 west between Lofgren Road and St. Joe County. The total of the low bid was $2.4 million. The grant covers every dollar up to $1 million, and so the difference is $1.4 million, which is before you today. That would be the county share of the project.
So we maximized our...
I always try,
right,
rule of thumb, to at least go $2 million.
Right.
And asphalt prices did escalate. Roughly, I think, $12 a ton for intermediate, and I think 10 for surface over last year. So that's why the little increase. We were estimating it to be 2.1, 2.2, but it came in at 2.4.
So we'll do these separately. So this is the community crossing grant.
Yeah.
What account you want that? That'd be LIT.
Think so? I don't think so.
LIT.
Oh, yeah, I would do LIT too. I'll make a motion to approve for the $1,405,319.87 out of LIT.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour and Terry. Mr. Gardner. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next item, Marquette Trail Matching Grant, $237,000.
This was an older project that is going to be construction letting this year. And so in the past, council did give matching funds for PE. Now this is for construction and construction inspection of the project.
And what percentage grant is it?
80-20.
80-20.
The original grant amount, I think, for construction inspection is 1.1 at 85,000. I believe the total grant I received was 1.3 million.
Right.
So this would be 20% of this is the largest cost of the project, actually.
And where's this go from, just so that everybody knows?
It's so roughly Muir Road, Old Grand Beach Boulevard to State Line, Michigan. It connects to Michigan City's route and through Michigan City, Singing Sands. And it's the bigger trail would be Marquette, which would connect from New Buffalo all the way to Chicago eventually. And there are different phases. Some are built, some they received funding for. But hopefully in the next 6-7 years, over 90% will be completed of that trail.
Did you get the monument thing in Michigan taken care of?
Yeah, I spoke to him. Bendix, Gary, Barry.
Turn it down?
What's that? No, we're not.
Good.
We're taking care of it, yeah.
Good. Glad we get able to work together.
Motion to approve out of lit.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Mullenhour. Take out a lit. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mitch.
I appreciate
Keep up
it.
the good work.
Mitch, real quick, sorry,
Yep.
just a second. I know the government did a really good job for giving us grant money for those T-bulbs that we got rid of as soon as we installed them. Those are the small little bulbs that we went, and then we
LEDs.
They weren't LEDs. They were the fluorescent T-bulbs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he gave us all this money for this. So we're trying to get lights transferred over. Is there still some? Can you check and see if there's any more money?
Yeah,
for that, please?
I believe there's a U.S. Department of Energy. I could check and see.
Because I know that the mills picked it up. I don't know, and we were able to replace all the crane ones, but there's still money available. Could you please? Because we have just example. Would you please check for us? Please?
Yeah, I'll see if there's anything available right now.
Thank you. That's all.
Thanks.
And then the other thing, we probably need to check with Larry and see where we're at with all the buildings getting switched over.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
No,
Definitely.
Okay.
Thanks, Mitch.
All right, thanks.
Next item is LaPorte County Economic Development requesting the additional appropriation from LIT for their annual budget of $220,000. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tony Rodriguez.
I'll make a motion to approve 50% of it, like we've done the past few years, at $110,000. And then you come back in
Motion
June.
by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Yagowski, to fund 6 months, then you come back because you like coming back so much.
We'll see anyway.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Support.
Keep up the good work. Next item, county council comments or attorney.
Your Honor.
Your Honor?
I
didn't say auditor.
I know that.
I didn't say
I
auditor.
wanted to give you a 10-second piece of information about
Okay.
the Brown-Mackey contract.
Okay.
The Brown-Mackey contract, I've got it in front of me.
Okay.
It's a 2-year lease that ends August 15th, 2022, and it says the county is responsible for utilities. So the question is whether or not a new contract to terminate early was negotiated by
I
the
believe they
commission.
sent us something that said we had to be out.
Yes.
That's why we,
Well, I thought so too.
right. If not, we wouldn't have had quite the buying there that we did, so.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, though.
Could I ask a question to the attorney about?
Council comments, you can ask,
Okay.
you can comment to him.
Okay, there was a statement made about the 1% additional for courthouse security. Does that go back to the first of the year for them then?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, like
that's all.
everybody else.
All right, thank you.
Any other council comments? Mr. Yagowski.
Randy,
Wait,
Let him go, Terry.
Randy,
go ahead, Terry.
I'd like to make a comment. We are still not having anything done with Purdue Extension yet, and still have some people very upset about how it's still being handled. So that's all.
So the comment that I got is there's things that are happening It's not moving nearly as fast as we all wanted it to, but I spoke with the Director of Purdue Extension, Jason Holloway, I can't think of his last name right now, as recently as 4 o'clock this evening. So they've got some things that hopefully by our next meeting, we'll see some real progress. So that's what I got, Terry. Thank you. Any other council comments?
Mr. President.
Mr. Yagowski.
I do hate to bring this up, but the auditor's well aware I was going to bring it up. So we had some problems last year with paying of the commissioner's attorney. It was negotiated and worked in good faith between all parties, between the finance committee, the attorneys, the auditor, and we came to a great agreement with the understanding we could move forward. This year, we have already got money that we have not paid the attorneys again, so we had another discussion, the three of us, and we brought up some points again. So it's been put down, it's been put away again, we're not paying the bills. So the council's done their due diligence, I've done my due diligence. I know that as far as our committee is concerned, I'll speak for one of myself, the two can also speak for themselves. I'm very disappointed that we could not come to an agreement. This we will probably go into litigation again. This is not the way we should run county government. And I would hope that we would have learned our lesson in December of last year. Thank you.
I concur. Mr. Cunningham.
As the third member of the Finance Committee, I don't want to say I don't concur, because I concur with the majority of that, but by the same token, I believe Mr. Stabos is 100% correct when he's requesting more information before he spends the county taxpayers' money on questionable billings. And you guys both agree there were some questionable billings from a year ago. And when you so vaguely itemize things that it's not really itemized, then it's questionable billing.
And we accepted that. So our committee got together again and we took care of the items. This is not to pay 100%. We didn't pay anything. There's no doubt about it. We answered some of those questions. Some of those bills should be paid.
And we had a committee meeting, Mr. Cunningham, and we went through that list collectively, the three of us, Finance Committee, and we come up with 4 things that we questioned, and we got an answer to it, sent it to our attorney. Our attorney said he felt they were all legitimate items at that time.
Well, legitimate is,
I don't.
They seem to be legal. They seem to be legally related.
Yes.
Right. So I would ask to speak to that.
No, this is not it. This is a council. This is not.
I need to speak to that.
This is not his meeting. I don't have no problem with that. This is not his meeting.
I would ask for a motion. I would ask for a motion from the council to allow me to speak.
A motion?
Yeah, I would ask for a motion.
So we can.
Because you're misspeaking about something.
What are we misspeaking about?
What you're misspeaking about is the document that I sent you was not a detailed recitation of each of the billing items from Mr. Friedman as to why I shouldn't pay them. It was a summary that I was going to send to Mr. Friedman. Please send me this email from this date. And I was sending it to you first, not to give you all this detail, but to say these are the things that I would like to speak about with you. Because I wasn't going to go direct to Mr. Friedman. I wanted to go to you first as an ombudsman of sorts. So you didn't have all the adequate information in that email. You made deductions and conclusions without adequate information.
That's what you gave us.
So
the only thing I'll say, Tim, and we're trying to work this out. I talked to you after that, and I said, what exactly do you want? Do you want an answer to all 12? Do you want us to do this? Do you want us to do that? And you never responded to that.
That's not true.
You never responded to me and said, this is what I want.
Okay, well,
regarding the 12 items that you sent us.
I don't believe that, and I don't accept that as true. So we must have. We may have missed a. No, I think we missed an email or communication because that's.
We talked on the phone.
I would like the 12 items provided. I had department heads provide me items directly of Mr. Friedman's emails that involve what I believe is him defrauding the county, defrauding LaPorte County with his billing practices. Mr. Friedman is defrauding LaPorte County.
You're not going to dismantle me.
No, I'm not. All right. So the agreement that was.
I'll send. So here's what I'll do. This is my last good faith effort. I'll send the 12 items to Mr. Friedman and ask him the other 8 items to Mr. Friedman. Ask him to respond to those, and then we'll forward those to you and to our attorney, and then we'll do that. Then you've got an answer to all.
I want the source emails, because when I got source emails from department heads and from Baker Tilly, I found out that he sent an email to Baker Tilly with let me finish this, the resolution that the commissioners passed denouncing me for my internet postings.
We're not debating on this. I will send you
don't cover this
the
up.
rest of
Let me make my point. I think you're covering it up.
I'm not covering it up, Mr. Stables.
Mr. Stables, you
I'm not.
speak at department head.
Right. There's a
commissioner during department heads reports today, but I decided not because I wanted your meeting to be efficient, and now you're not letting me speak.
If it's a commissioner item. It's not a council item. We're trying to fix it.
You protect the money just as much as I do.
We're trying to fix it.
You protect the money as much as I do.
I know you do. And the items you brought to us, we have scrutinized and gone through all of them.
You are not adequately going through them.
Mr. Freeman,
I need more support from you.
I think you're absolutely wrong. I think you're wrong. I think you're incorrect statements to say that we're not being fiscally responsible in this item.
I said you're not adequately supporting me. That's what I said.
We're not adequately venting this particular item. I think you're absolutely incorrect.
I think you improperly vetted this item. You didn't
there
ask
it
me.
goes
You
again.
did not ask
There
me
it
for more
goes again.
information.
That we're improperly doing something. We've been over. We're like trying to help this. Get this worked out. Get you the answers that you want.
That's 3 put a lot of things.
I appreciate that.
We absolutely did. And it wasn't with the intention. Nobody's covering anything up.
I appreciate that.
And Mr. Cunningham could speak on it. Are we covering something up, Mr. Cunningham? Have we told you we think you should let anything slide, Mr. Cunningham? Absolutely not. The three of us came up with a list of the 4 questions. Nobody pushed anything or tried to cover anything up. Or anybody.
We need to talk more about it privately, or that's what I'm saying.
We tried to.
No. Well, let's do it now. We had a misunderstanding. Let's do it now.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
He had one item.
You got something?
No. Okay, the motion to adjourn.
Second? Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, seconded by Mr. Cunningham. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.